Chapter 36. A day later, Mo Tai finally finished collecting the herbs. 17 sets of golden sungrass, 9 sets of flame holly, 11 sets of scarlet drill flower, 11 sets of crack crow, 13 sets of heaven essence lotus, and 13 sets of Tier 1 fire attribute spiritual cores. I can use these medicinal ingredients to refine 9 or 10 yuan burst pills. Nie Tian looked at the medicinal ingredients on the table with a faint smile on his face. It was not easy for Mo Tai to collect so many medicinal herbs in just one day. After all, Muang City was a poor and remote place. Nie Tian walked out of the room and ordered Mo Tai not to be disturbed. After Mo Tai agreed, he personally stood guard at the door. Nie Tian's Yuan Burst pill was too important. It could decide the future of Muang City. He could not afford to make any mistakes. Nie Tian returned to his room and arranged the cauldron and the herbs. The cauldron in front of Nie Tian was a good one. It was at least a Tier 3 artifact. He was curious why the mayor's mansion would have such a good cauldron. Next, Nie Tian sorted out the medicinal ingredients one by one and divided them into 9 portions. As for the medicinal ingredients that he didn't need, he put them into his bag of holding. 9 Heaven's Flame Technique. Nie Tian opened his palm and his elemental meridians started to revolve. A moment later, a strange scene appeared. A ball of scarlet flame appeared on his palm. 9 Heaven's Flame Technique. This was the fire-controlling technique that Nie Tian cultivated in his previous life. It was a terrifying fire-controlling martial skill. Not only could it control flames, it could also use elemental energy to create flames. Fire controlling was the most basic requirement to become an alchemist. Many people did not know how to control fire, so they were not fated to be an alchemist. Go! Nie Tian turned his palm and the scarlet flame flew to the 3-legged cauldron. Nie Tian kept transferring elemental energy to keep the scarlet flame burning. Next, it was time to put the herbs in. Never underestimate the step of putting the herbs in. This step might seem simple, but it was actually the most mysterious. The order, timing, and quantity of each medicinal herb had to be precise and precise. During this process, the alchemist needed to use his own strong mental energy to sense the changes in the attributes of each herb. If he was even slightly careless, it was possible for the pill to explode or even the cauldron to explode. Golden sungrass, flame holly, scarlet drill flower, split mouth crow, sky essence lotus, and a level 1 fire attribute spirit core. Nie Tian very carefully placed these herbs into the pill cauldron. If other alchemists were to see Nie Tian's current actions, they would definitely shout and scream. Because Nie Tian directly put the medicinal herbs into the cauldron according to the type, not according to the amount. Alchemists generally refined elixirs one by one, but now Nie Tian obviously wanted to refine all the elixirs at once. Actually, Nie Tian didn't do this on purpose. It was because he didn't have enough essence energy. If he were to refine pills one by one, he would only be able to refine 2 explosive yuan pills. In order to refine as many explosive yuan pills as possible, Nie Tian could only take the risk out of desperation. Actually, it couldn't be said to be taking the risk out of desperation, because Nie Tian was very confident in his attainments in the pill Dao. With his current spiritual energy and the super-strong pill refining experience from his previous life, even if there were any mistakes in the middle, he would be able to correct them in time. After the medicinal herbs were placed into the cauldron, time ticked by, and Nie Tian's face slowly turned paler and paler. Controlling the fire to refine pills simply consumed too much essence energy. Nie Tian's strength was only at the 2nd level of origin spirit, and he was too much of a burden. Mo Tai and Mo Rushi waited outside the room, both of them sweating profusely from anxiety. 10 minutes later, Nie Tian's body almost started to sway, and he almost couldn't stand. Power of stars! The essence energy of the 9 essence meridians in his body was completely depleted. Helpless, Nye Tian could only use the 10th meridian's power of stars. He didn't use the power of stars earlier, because he didn't know how the power of stars would affect the pill refinement. As the power of stars gushed out, the scarlet-red flame under the pill cauldron suddenly became vigorous, and there seemed to be an unusual aura appearing. Nye Tian sensed the rich medicinal fragrance, and his expression slowly turned into one of surprise. Pill formed. Another 10 minutes passed. Just as Nye Tian was sweating profusely, his eyes suddenly narrowed, and he exclaimed in surprise. The flame under the pill cauldron disappeared, and 9 explosive yuan pills leaped out of the pill cauldron, landing in Nye Tian's palm. After the power of stars was integrated into the explosive yuan pill, its aura seems to be even stronger than before. Nye Tian immediately discovered that the power of stars didn't deplete the explosive yuan pill at all. In fact, it was quite beneficial. He estimated that the explosive yuan pill in his hand was almost close to a 3rd-level spirit pill. If I'm not wrong, the explosive yuan pill is enough to raise Mo Tai's strength to the 5th level of the manifestation realm. Nye Tian smiled slightly, very satisfied with the explosive yuan pill he refined. Mo Tai and his daughter heard the commotion in the room and knew that Nye Tian had finished refining the pill, so they pushed the door open and entered. It's really the explosive yuan pill? Mo Tai looked at the pill in Nye Tian's hand in shock. City Lord Mo knows about the explosive yuan pill? Nye Tian expressed his surprise. Mo Tai chuckled, I've seen it before. Nye Tian could see that Mo Tai was obviously hiding something, so he didn't ask any further. He handed the explosive yuan pill to Mo Tai and kept 4 for himself. Nye Tian said, Tomorrow is the day Moyang City's martial meet begins. I'll return to the Nye Manor now. After the martial meet ends, I'll bring the Nye clan's origin spirit realm martial artists to the City Lord's manor. With that, Nye Tian didn't waste any more time and turned to leave. Nye Tian, will you participate in the martial meet tomorrow? Mo Rushi pulled Nye Tian and asked softly. Nye Tian smiled faintly. Tomorrow's martial meet is no longer important, but I have some matters to settle, so I will still participate. Nye Tian originally didn't want to participate in the Moyang City's martial meet, but he promised Tang 13 to kill Ba Ziliang. The Moyang City martial meet was a good opportunity, so he reluctantly participated. With his current strength, he was confident that he could easily kill Ba Ziliang. Then I'll participate too. Mo Rushi nodded seriously. Nye Tian teased, Miss Mo, you still want to defeat me, right? So what if I do? Mo Rushi's face was unconvinced as she glared at Nye Tian. I'm now at the 2nd level of the origin spirit realm, and my origin spirit is very strong. Defeating you is as easy as flipping my hand. Nye Tian smiled speechlessly and didn't try to explain anything. Then we'll meet at the martial meet. Anyway, the martial meet was rather boring to Nye Tian, so playing with Mo Rushi wasn't a big deal. Alright, I'll definitely defeat you. Mo Rushi nodded heavily. Nye Tian didn't say anything else and immediately left. Father, what's Nye Tian's strength now? Mo Rushi couldn't tell Nye Tian's strength anymore, so she raised her head and asked Mo Tai. Mo Tai sighed. 2nd level of the origin spirit realm. 2nd level of the origin spirit realm. Mo Rushi was quite surprised and pouted. I didn't think that this shameless person would also awaken his origin spirit. Rushi, you're not his match. If you meet him tomorrow, don't force yourself. Mo Tai knew that Nye Tian wouldn't hurt Mo Rushi, but he was worried that Mo Rushi would be too stubborn. Father, I know. Mo Rushi wasn't an unreasonable girl, and knew that tomorrow's martial meet wasn't important anymore. She still had to rely on Nye Tian and the Nye family to deal with the Bloodbat sect at night. When Nye Tian returned to the Nye family, he immediately went to the meeting hall. After a while, the elders and attendants of the Nye family were all present. 4 elders and 2 attendants, these were all the origin spirit experts of the Nye family. Patriarch, you're finally back. Tomorrow is the martial meet in Moyang City. Patriarch, you must help the Nye family take the championship. Nye Wenyuan was very excited when he saw Nye Tian, and said in a clear voice. Nye Tian nodded lightly and said, "Did anything happen in the Nye family these days?" Nye Wenyuan replied, "No, I don't know why, but the Ba family was very quiet, and didn't find trouble with the Nye family." Nye Tian shook his head slightly. The Ba family was waiting for the Bloodbat sect to arrive, and then destroy the city lord's mansion and the Nye family in one fell swoop. Of course they wouldn't act rashly. "Oh, right, Nye Santong suddenly disappeared. I don't know where he went?" Nye Wenyuan added. "Maybe he felt that the Nye family couldn't stay any longer, and found another way out. Don't bother with him." Nye Tian smiled calmly. He didn't admit that he killed Nye Santong, because he didn't want to bring any shock to the Nye family. After all, Nye Santong had some power in the Nye family. "Great Elder, this patriarch has some things to say, don't get too excited after you hear it." Nye Tian didn't continue nagging, and planned to tell them about the Bloodbat sect. Nye Wenyuan didn't know what Nye Tian was planning, but seeing that the latter's expression wasn't right, his heart couldn't help but sink. Nye Tian scanned the crowd, and told them everything about the Bloodbat sect. After Nye Wenyuan and the rest heard it, they all looked at each other, not quite believing Nye Tian's words. Who would have thought that the tragedy of the Nye family 3 years ago was actually caused by the Bloodbat sect, and even colluded with the Ba family? Nye Tian didn't give them time to react and said, "After the martial gathering tomorrow, you will follow me to the city lord's mansion, and fight to the death with the Bloodbat sect." "Okay." Nye Wenyuan was the first to react, and was also the first to stand up and loudly agreed. Nye Tian was the patriarch, and the Nye family and the Bloodbat sect had an irreconcilable hatred, so Nye Wenyuan had to support him. Nye Wenyuan agreed, and the others could only nod. After everyone nodded in agreement, Nye Tian took out the Yuan detonation pill and handed it over to Nye Wenyuan. Then, he gave him a brief explanation of the pill's usage. The Yuan burst pill could temporarily increase a martial artist's strength, but it had a huge side effect. After consumption, there would be a month of weakness. Of the 3 Yuan burst pills, Nye Wenyuan kept one for himself, and the remaining 2 were given to the 2 strongest elders. After giving these instructions, Nye Tian returned to his own room. He needed a good rest to prepare for the big battle tomorrow. At the same time, the Ba family's meeting hall. The one sitting on the main seat was not Ba Wooly, but the altar lord of the Bloodbat sect, Xiong Ba. "Brother Ba, you've given birth to a good son. Ziliang is very good, and can represent our branch altar to enter the headquarters." Xiong Ba looked at Ba Ziliang, who had just come out of seclusion, and laughed. "Altar Lord is too kind." Ba Wooly bowed and replied, his face respectful. Ba Ziliang came out of seclusion, and his strength had reached the 5th level of the Origin Spirit Realm. His aura was much stronger, and he said, "Lord Altar Lord, as long as you help my Ba family take down Moyang City, Ziliang will definitely head to the headquarters to win glory for the branch altar." "Good." Xiong Ba laughed and said, "Just based on these words of yours, this altar lord will give you 2 gifts. They will definitely allow you to shine brilliantly in the martial gathering tomorrow, and kill your way through." As Xiong Ba spoke, he slightly turned the time ring on his hand, and 2 items instantly appeared like magic. Chapter 37. Early the next morning, just as the sun rose, Moyang City's arena was already filled with people. Today was Moyang City's triennial martial gathering. Many people had arrived early to watch the battles. Moyang City's martial gathering was a competition between the younger generation of the major clans. The result of the competition would determine the ranking of the clans in Moyang City for the next 3 years. On the viewing platform, representatives of the major clans appeared one after another. Mo Tai sat on the most conspicuous seat of honor. Below him were the Ba clan's head Ba Wooly, the Nye clan's head elder Nye Wenyuan, and the other clan heads of the major clans. Nye Tian was supposed to appear on the viewing platform as well, but he didn't want to waste time with the clan heads and elders, so he let Nye Wenyuan take his place. City Lord, the Moyang City's martial gathering is very lively this time. Who does the City Lord think will be the champion of this martial meet? Ba Wuli narrowed his eyes and glanced at Emotai with a trace of disdain. Normally, Ba Wuli wouldn't dare to show such an attitude in front of Emotai. But the situation was different now. After tonight, Moyang City's lord would change hands, and Ba Wuli couldn't hold back any longer. Emotai naturally understood what Ba Wuli was thinking, but he maintained a calm expression and said indifferently, "I believe that the champion of this year's martial gathering will be the same as 3 years ago, Nye Tian of the Nye clan. City Lord overpraises me." Nye Wenyuan smiled. "Is that so?" Ba Wuli sneered. "I don't think so. A mere 9th-level origin pulse trash wants to be the champion, what a joke." I heard that the second young master of the Ba clan, Ba Ziliang, has returned from training and is already at the 4th level of the origin spirit realm. I wonder if the rumor is true? Ma clan head Ma Jingwu said, not hiding his flattery towards Ba Wuli at all. I think young master Ba Ziliang is only 18. Already at the 4th level of the origin spirit realm, at such a young age, what a young genius. Looks like young Master Ba Ziliang is the true #1 genius of Moyang City. Yang clan head Yang Wudi said. Now that the Ba clan was powerful, there were faint signs of it overshadowing the city lord's mansion. These clan lords were all shrewd characters, and they would not let go of this opportunity to curry favor. Although the news of the Ba clan's eldest young master being crippled, and the fact that the Ba clan had surrounded the Nye clan and retreated had spread like wildfire, everyone still believed that the Ba clan was very powerful, so powerful that even the city governor's mansion feared it. After all, Emotai had no children, and his only daughter had yet to awaken her primordial spirit. In the future, when Ba Ziliang grows up, Moyang City will definitely have a new owner. Emotai looked at the Ma and Yang family heads and smiled faintly as he said, Ba Ziliang is indeed at the 4th level origin spirit realm. His strength and talent are both very strong. However, Nye Tian is not as weak as Ba clan's patriarch made him out to be. This city lord saw with his own eyes that Nye Tian defeated Ba Ziliang in 3 moves. If Nye Tian is trash, then what is Ba Ziliang? City Lord Mo. Ba Wuli glared at Emotai and was actually about to get angry. Emotai, however, had a calm expression as he smiled coldly and said, when Ba Ziliang was defeated, Ba clan's patriarch was also present. Are you trying to deny it? Ba Wuli suppressed his anger and gritted his teeth as he said, that stinking brat was just lucky. Now that my son is already at the 5th level origin spirit realm, if he meets Nye Tian again, he will definitely be able to kill him. Let's hope so. Emotai chuckled, declining to comment. Emotai was very confident in Nye Tian. Even if Ba Ziliang broke through to the 5th level origin spirit realm, he would definitely not be Nye Tian's mat. However, Ba Wuli seemed to be very confident as well, with a confident look. He glanced at Emotai and laughed coldly in his heart. Emotai, just wait to watch a good show. The other family heads also did not speak anymore. Anyone could tell that there would be a battle between the Ba clan and the city governor's mansion sooner or later. However, they definitely would not have thought that this battle would arrive so soon. On the martial arena, all the preparations were ready. After Emotai said a few words as per usual, the martial meet officially began. Those who participated in the martial meet were all youngsters below the age of 20. In previous years, a 9th level origin meridian was already the peak strength. But this year was different because Ba Ziliang, this 5th level origin spirit realm fellow, had appeared. And Nye Tian and Mo Rushi had also awakened their origin spirits, becoming essence spirit martial artists. The first match began. Very coincidentally, It was Nye Tian against a disciple of the Ma clan, Ma Yang. Ma Yang stepped onto the martial arena with a domineering look. Nye Tian also stepped onto the martial arena, but had a lazy attitude. The state of the two formed a stark contrast. Nye Tian's appearance immediately attracted everyone's attention. Recently, there had been many rumors regarding Nye Tian. Crippling Ba Ziang, defeating Ba Ziliang, etc. But the majority of people only treated these as rumors. Very few people believed that it was true. After all, Nye Tian had already been a trash with his origin meridians completely destroyed for 3 years. No one would believe that a trash could suddenly rise up. On the viewing platform, several patriarchs could not help but discuss. Ma Yang, an outstanding talent of my Ma clan, already at the 8th level of origin meridian. Against someone who has been crippled for 3 years, it seems a bit like bullying. Ma clan patriarch Ma Jingwu was the first to speak, his tone filled with ridicule. Nye Wenyuan glanced at Ma Jingwu and sneered. Ma clan patriarch is making a good joke. But you'll soon know who's bullying who. Mr. Nye, it seems that your Nye clan is very dissatisfied. A trash patriarch, do you still want to bully others? Yang clan patriarch Yang Wudi laughed. Nye Wenyuan snorted coldly, and simply ignored this bunch of idiots. On the martial arena, Nye Tian, the former number 1 genius of Moyang City, who had been a trash for 3 years. To think that there would be a day when you would stand on the martial arena. What a surprise. Ma Yang looked at Nye Tian the moment he stepped onto the stage, and adopted a mocking attitude. Ma Yang, 20 years old, 8th level of origin meridian. I really don't understand, with such trash strength, where does your confidence come from? Nye Tian only glanced at Ma Yang, and did not have the desire to look at him a second time. Facing such strength, Nye Tian could not bring up the slightest desire to fight. Nye Tian, do you think you're still the genius from 3 years ago? Ma Yang sneered and said, I see that you're a trash, so I'll let you make 3 moves first. After 3 moves, bang! Before Ma Yang could finish his sentence, a muffled sound rang out, and he fell off the martial arena, sprawled on the ground, unable to get up for a long time. No need for 3 moves, I only need you to let me make 1 move. Nye Tian smiled speechlessly, turned around, and jumped off the martial arena. Ma Yang laid on the ground, feeling that all the bones in his body were broken. He completely did not see clearly when Nye Tian made his move, and how he made his move. The few patriarchs on the spectators' stand were also stunned. Even they did not see Nye Tian's move clearly. Nye Wenyuan laughed and said, An outstanding talent of the Ma clan can't even take 1 move, you're really bullying people. Ma Jingwu's old face turned red, and his chest was blocked, unable to swallow nor spit out. You're just a piece of trash at the 8th level of origin meridian, are you proud of yourself? Ba Wuli mocked. Nye Wenyuan smiled faintly and said, Then let's wait until our patriarch defeats the second young master of the Ba clan, whose surname isn't Ba. Ba Wuli's eyes turned cold, and he roared in his heart, Nye Wenyuan, after tonight, I'll make you kneel before me and admit your mistake. Nye Tian defeating Ma Yang in 1 move had caused quite a commotion. Only now did people know that the rumors about Nye Tian were true. The trash patriarch of the Nye clan had really risen. Looking at Nye Tian from afar, Ba Ziliang's eyes were filled with boundless anger, and he sneered in his heart, Nye Tian, I'll torture you to death with my own hands, and let the people of Moyang City see who the true number 1 genius is. Nye Tian had no interest in the following matches. They were all fights between origin meridian practitioners, and they held no attraction for him. This continued until Ba Ziliang's figure appeared in the dueling ring. Unfortunately, Ba Ziliang's opponent was a Nye clan cultivator, Nye Shan. Nye Shan was 19 years old, and at the 7th level of origin meridian. Nye Tian, I'll make you watch the death of a Nye clan practitioner. Ba Ziliang did not even look at Nye Shan, and instead roared at Nye Tian, who was below the arena. Nie Tian furrowed his brows slightly. Ba Ziliang, what are you trying to do? Feeling the chilling, killing intent, Nie Shan's face turned pale. Die. Ba Ziliang did not give Nie Shan any chance. With a palm strike, a sharp sword aura shot towards Nie Shan. Pooh! The sword aura swept past, and Nie Shan's chest was directly pierced, and he died on the spot. Ha! This is a practitioner of the Nie clan? Can't even withstand a single blow. Ba Ziliang laughed maniacally, and walked off the arena with a proud expression. Bastard! Nie Tian growled, and his eyes flashed with killing intent. At this moment, Ba Ziliang had become a dead man in Nie Tian's eyes. All practitioners of the Nie clan, withdraw from the martial gathering. Nie Tian made a prompt decision, and ordered all the practitioners of the Nie clan to withdraw from the martial gathering. This martial gathering was not important in the first place, and there was no need to increase the number of casualties. Nie Tian alone was enough for the Nie clan. The Nie clan did not dare to disobey Nie Tian's orders, and all withdrew from the martial gathering. All practitioners of the Ba clan withdraw from the martial gathering. Facing Nie Tian's actions, Ba Ziliang chose to go tit for tat. Ba Ziliang also knew that this martial gathering was meaningless, and the only meaningful thing was the battle between him and Nie Tian, so there was no need for the practitioners of the Ba clan to continue participating in the competition. The Nie and Ba clan's practitioners withdrew from the competition at the same time, and the remaining practitioners were less than half. The following battles were even simpler and more violent. Everyone who fought with Ba Ziliang were all killed in one move, and Nie Tian's opponents were all defeated in one move. This martial gathering had practically become Nie Tian and Ba Ziliang's individual show. In less than an hour, the top 4 of the martial gathering were decided: Nie Tian, Ba Ziliang, Mo Rushi, and Ma Gang. Among the 4, other than Ma Gang, the other 3 were essence spirit martial artists. Ma Gang was able to enter the top 4, not because he was strong, but because he was lucky, and did not meet Nie Tian and the other 2. The top 4 finals began, the first match, Nie Tian against Mo Rushi. I admit defeat. Before Nie Tian had even stepped onto the stage, Mo Rushi's voice had already sounded out. I admit defeat. Mo Rushi admitted defeat, and the entire audience went into an uproar. Mo Rushi's performance in the martial gathering was not inferior to Nie Tian's, and everyone thought that there would be an exciting battle between the two. Chapter 38. Mo Rushi chose to concede because she did not want to exhaust Nie Tian's essence energy. The battle between Nie Tian and Ba Ziliang was definitely going to be a tough one. Ba Ziliang was very strong, and Mo Rushi admitted that she was not his match, so she placed her hopes on Nie Tian. Don't worry, he'll definitely die. Nie Tian smiled faintly, his tone very resolute. Next, Ma Gang met Ba Ziliang, and as expected, he directly conceded. Ma Gang's path to the top 4 was originally more due to luck than strength. His concession was also within expectations, and did not cause any commotion. Mo Rushi and Ma Gang both conceded, and the battle between Nie Tian and Ba Ziliang was brought forward. Nie Tian, get your ass up here and die. Ba Ziliang was the first to step onto the arena, pointing angrily at Nie Tian. He had long been itching for this battle. Courting death. Nie Tian's figure moved, and with a strange movement technique, he appeared on the arena. Nie Tian had similarly been waiting for this battle for a long time. The two had yet to officially start fighting, but the smell of gunpowder was already thick, causing the audience below to discuss. The final battle of the martial gathering is finally about to begin. I wonder who will emerge as the champion. It'll definitely be young Master Ba Ziliang crushing Nie Tian. Nie Tian has been a cripple for 3 years, and suddenly rose up strangely. He must have had some fortuitous encounter. But Ba Ziliang has already reached the 5th level of the Origin Spirit Realm. None of his opponents could last a single move, and they were all insta-killed. I reckon that even Nye Tian can't last a single move. I think so too. Nye Tian has been delayed for 3 years after all. No matter how heaven-defying his talent is, it's impossible for him to turn the tide. In the end, he'll only be a laughingstock. One had to admit that Nye Tian did not have a heaven-defying performance on the arena. Although everyone admitted that he had strength, they still felt that he had no chance of defeating Ba Ziliang. On the viewing platform, Ba Wuli smiled sinisterly and said, I didn't expect that trash Nye Tian would actually awaken his Yuan spirit. No wonder City Lord Mo is so confident in him. Mo Tai smiled faintly and replied, Clan head Ba, you keep calling him trash, but don't forget that this trash crippled your eldest son and defeated your second son. Moreover, your idiotic third son is also thanks to Nye Tian. If Nye Tian is trash, then aren't your 3 sons even worse than trash? Mo Tai Yu. Having his scar poked, Ba Wuli stood up and glared at Mo Tai furiously. Nye Wenyuan laughed heartily and said, What's the matter, Patriarch Ba? Do you know the pain now that the scar has been opened? If you knew this would happen, you wouldn't have humiliated others. Patriarch Ba, don't be angry. The other patriarchs tried to calm him down. Ba Wuli sat back down and roared in his heart, Mo Tai, Nye Wenyuan, I'll let you be arrogant for a while longer. After tonight, I'll make you kneel on the ground and beg me. Mo Tai and Nye Wenyuan both knew what Ba Wuli was thinking and chose to ignore him. The other patriarchs were still in the dark and didn't know what was going on. Gradually, the crowd quietened down and countless pairs of eyes stared at the stage. Nye Tian and Ba Ziliang stood opposite each other, less than 5 meters apart, staring at each other angrily. Nye Tian, I have to admit that your strength has exceeded my expectations. However, you are no longer the number 1 genius of Moyang City 3 years ago, and I am no longer the same as I was 3 years ago. Right now, the difference between us is like the difference between heaven and earth. It's impossible for you to defeat me. Ba Ziliang didn't rush to make a move and said coldly, Difference between heaven and earth? Nye Tian smiled playfully and said, Young Master Ba seems to have a bad memory. About 10 days ago, I only used 3 moves to knock someone to the ground. If we were really that different that day, it would have been me and not you. Nye Tian's tone was filled with great confidence. Nye Tian, you're overconfident. Ba Ziliang was immediately enraged when his scar was exposed. Buzz. A sword cry resounded and the blazing flame sword Yuan spirit appeared. Ba Ziliang was furious. His figure moved at an extremely fast speed, like a gust of wind. He attacked Nye Tian in an instant. Blazing flame chop. The blazing flame sword whistled out with a terrifying red sword light, piercing towards Nye Tian. This was the first time Ba Ziliang used his Yuan spirit on the stage, and it was a killing move right from the start. Obviously, he was determined to kill Nye Tian in one strike. He hated Nye Tian too much, he was gnashing his teeth. War God Imperial Fist. Upon seeing this, Nye Tian didn't hesitate to use the moves of the War God incantation. Boom! A powerful punch was thrown out, and a golden fist shadow appeared in the air. Bang! The sword light and the fist shadow collided, and a loud explosion occurred. How is this possible? Ba Ziliang immediately felt his palm go numb. The blazing flame sword Yuan spirit disappeared with a flash. Retreating several steps, Ba Ziliang stabilized his body. Looking at his wrist again, a blood stain actually appeared between his thumb and forefinger. Your strength, how is this possible? Ba Ziliang had a dumbfounded look. His gaze when looking at Nye Tian flickered with fear. The power of this punch of Nye Tian's was too horrifying. Not only did it block Ba Ziliang's fatal sword strike, it even injured Ba Ziliang. The power of this punch was at least 30,000 caddies. 30,000 caddies. How was this possible? Nye Tian was only at the 2nd level essence spirit realm. Normally speaking, very talented martial artists had the possibility of reaching 10,000 caddies when they were at the 5th level essence spirit realm. But someone like Nye Tian, who could erupt with 30,000 caddies of power at the 2nd level essence spirit realm, was seriously horrifying. A portion of Nye Tian's strength came from the 9 essence meridians, but the majority of the power came from the 10th essence meridian's stellar power. At this moment, he had awakened the power of 6 stars. Each star's power could bring him a tremendous increase in strength. In addition, the 9 extremes war god art that Nye Tian cultivated was a super heaven tier martial art. It was not strange for him to be able to erupt with 30,000 caddies of power. Nye Tian's first punch caused everyone present to be collectively stunned, as if they were petrified. Facing the blazing flame sword essence spirit head-on, Nye Tian's physical strength definitely exceeds 20,000 caddies. The power that erupted from that punch earlier was even 30,000 caddies. Nye Tian only has 2nd level essence spirit realm strength. Could it be that his body is forged from iron? Mo Tai could not recover his senses for a moment. Even though he knew that Nye Tian's strength was heaven-defying, he did not think that it was actually heaven-defying to this extent. My God! My Nye family is really going to produce a major character. Nye Wenyuan was also very agitated as he cried out in his heart. Ba Wuli's face was slightly pale, but he immediately thought of something and became very calm again. After a moment, whispers broke out below the stage. Nye Tian actually injured Ba Ziliang with a single punch. That's too monstrous. Nye Tian's talent has returned. Ba Ziliang is going to lose. Ba Ziliang can't even take a single punch from Nye Tian. Too weak. Are you sure that his strength is only at the 5th level essence spirit realm? Hearing the discussions below, Ba Ziliang's face was so dark that it was almost dripping blood. He roared angrily, "The competition is not over yet. All of you, shut up." Nye Tian smiled faintly and said, "The competition is not over yet. But now, it's my turn to make a move." War God Heaven Slash. Taking a step forward, Nye Tian used his full strength. His speed was extremely fast, as if every step could bring along the aura of heaven and earth. The sword Absolute Heaven Slash appeared again. Nye Tian's sword slashed downwards, and the shocking sword light condensed into a majestic sword shadow, pressing towards Ba Ziliang. Nye Tian didn't want to waste any time on Ba Ziliang. Ba Ziliang was just a trash, and it was better to get rid of him as soon as possible. Blazing Sky. Nye Tian's attack was extremely fierce. Ba Ziliang wasn't to be outdone, and the Blazing Sky sword appeared once again, meeting Nye Tian's attack head-on. A sword hum resounded, and a scarlet fiery radiance soared into the sky. It turned into a blazing pillar of fire that shot towards Nye Tian. Boom! In the collision of their ultimate moves, the war god Heaven Slash was clearly superior. A terrifying sword shadow shot towards Ba Ziliang's chest. Bang! A muffled sound rang out and Ba Ziliang was sent flying. He landed heavily on the ground, and the entire stage trembled. This scene caused the entire stage to fall into a deathly silence. No one expected Nye Tian's broken sword to be so powerful. If the broken sword in his hand was replaced with a real spiritual weapon, how powerful would it be? Ziliang. Seeing Ba Ziliang being defeated, Ba Wuli stood up and roared. Mo Tai, Nye Wenyuan, and the rest stood up as well. He's not dead. Could it be that my war god Heaven Slash isn't powerful enough? On the stage, Nye Tian couldn't help but frown when he sensed that Ba Ziliang's aura was still present. According to his current strength, the war god Heaven Slash should be enough to kill Ba Ziliang. Why was Ba Ziliang's aura still present? Nye Tian, it won't be that easy for you to kill me. Ba Ziliang stood up abruptly. Not only was he not dead, he wasn't even heavily injured. Protective armor. Nye Tian saw the black armor on Ba Ziliang's torn clothes, and immediately understood. He smiled. You're actually wearing a second-level protective armor. No wonder the war god Heaven / can't kill you. A second-level protective armor could negate a large portion of an Essence Spirit Expert's attack. Nye Tian's strength was only at the second level of the Essence Spirit realm. Even if the war god Heaven / was extremely powerful, it would still be hard for it to injure Ba Ziliang when it landed on a second-level protective armor. Protective armor. This was one of the two gifts that Bloodbat Sect's Altar Lord Xiongba had given Ba Ziliang. The two gifts that Xiongba had given Ba Ziliang were to ensure that he could obtain victory in the duel. Ba Ziliang was going to represent the 36th branch to enter the headquarters. Xiongba naturally did not wish for any accidents to happen to him. Ba Ziliang stood up once again. The crowd let out a long breath. They were looking forward to an exciting battle and were not willing to see Ba Ziliang die just like this. He's actually wearing armor to duel, shameless. When Emo Rushi saw this scene, her pretty face was enraged. So what if he's wearing armor? If he has the capabilities, let Nye Tian wear one too, a Ba family martial artist shouted smugly. Nye Tian shook his head with a bitter smile and said, wearing armor, although it's a little shameless, it's not considered breaking the rules. But this doesn't change the outcome in the slightest. You're too arrogant. Ba Ziliang roared angrily. The blazing flame sword Origin Spirit attacked once again. This time, his attacks were even more violent, practically disregarding everything. Puff, puff, puff. The blazing flame sword Origin Spirit stabbed out 3 times in a row. 3 streaks of sword light were practically released at the same time, stabbing towards Nye Tian. Nye Tian became cold to the extreme. His feet executed the strange Great Swan Wakaba steps, easily dodging the 3 streaks of sword light. The next instant, he actually directly appeared beside Ba Ziliang. The two people were practically face to face, only inches apart. Prepare to die. Nye Tian reached out his hand, striking a palm on Ba Ziliang's chest. Bam! A massive force suddenly erupted. Ba Ziliang's body tilted sideways, and he was actually directly pressed onto the ground by Nye Tian. Although Nye Tian's strength was only at the second-level Origin Spirit realm, his physical strength surpassed Ba Ziliang's. Once the two of them got close, Ba Ziliang would not have any strength to retaliate at all. Chapter 39. Seeing Ba Ziliang being pressed to the ground by Nye Tian, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Nye Tian's physical strength was too terrifying, even more freakish than a 9th-level Origin Spirit martial artist. Ziliang. Ba Wooly on the viewing platform was about to lose control as he roared again. Emo Tai and Nye Wenyuan also became nervous. If Ba Wooly dared to make any strange movements, the two of them did not mind killing him on the spot. On the stage, Ba Ziliang was pressed down by Nye Tian's large hand, his breathing gradually becoming ragged. If Nye Tian still did not let go, Ba Ziliang would very quickly suffocate to death. Ba Ziliang's face flushed red, all the essence energy in his body suddenly surged out strangely, his face revealing a sinister smile. "En? You want to die with me?" Nye Tian immediately sensed that Ba Ziliang actually wanted to self-detonate, intending to die with him. Bam! Suddenly slapping down with a palm, Nye Tian's body retreated 5 to 6 meters, rapidly pulling away from Ba Ziliang. If Ba Ziliang's self-detonation succeeded, even if Nye Tian did not die, he would be heavily injured. The huge pressure on his chest suddenly disappeared, Ba Ziliang immediately recovered, all the blood in his body actually surging back into his body. He struggled to climb up, smiling sinisterly. "Nye Tian, you are also very afraid of death?" Nye Tian smiled faintly and said, "Ba Ziliang, you are ruthless enough, actually wanting to detonate your own blood. If you want to die, this patriarch will not accompany you. Fighting with trash like you to the point of both sides suffering heavy injuries, isn't that too stupid?" Ba Ziliang's face was shrouded in coldness, his whole body surging with endless killing intent as he smiled sinisterly. "Nye Tian, do you think you are very smart now?" After Ba Ziliang finished speaking, a red spirit pill actually appeared in his hand. He raised his head and directly swallowed it. Exploding Yuan pill. Nye Tian was shocked. He was all too familiar with the aura of this spirit pill. It was precisely the exploding Yuan pill he had just refined yesterday. However, the exploding Yuan pill in Ba Ziliang's hand was clearly refined in a different pill room, but the effect was similar, temporarily increasing the martial artist's strength. Explosive Yuan pill. This was the second gift that Bloodbat Sect's Altar Master Xiongba gave Ba Ziliang. Consuming the explosive Yuan pill, the aura in Ba Ziliang's entire body skyrocketed. In a blink of an eye, he actually already reached 7th level Origin Spirit Realm strength. The explosive Yuan pill allowed his strength to increase by 2 levels. Right now, Ba Ziliang's entire body was emitting a formidable aura. Even his hair was about to stand on end. What's going on? Why did Ba Ziliang's aura increase so much? Many people below the stage didn't know what was happening, and they all revealed expressions of horror. Ba Ziliang actually consumed the burst Yuan pill. In the spectator stands, Mo Tai noticed something and immediately stood up. Ba Wooly sneered. City Lord Mo is quite knowledgeable to know about the explosive Yuan pill. After my son consumed the explosive Yuan pill, his strength increased by 2 levels. Let's see how Nye Tian is going to resist. When Nye Wenyuan and the other patriarchs heard Ba Wooly's words, they were stunned. They didn't expect the Ba family to be able to take out the explosive Yuan pill. Mo Tai glared fiercely at Ba Wooly. In his heart, he knew that Ba Ziliang's explosive Yuan pill definitely came from the Bloodbat sect. Since things had already come to this, Mo Tai couldn't possibly openly stop the duel. He could only hope that Nye Tian still had more strength left in him. Nye Tian was indeed holding back his strength, and a lot of it, but he didn't intend to use it on Ba Ziliang. Even if Ba Ziliang used the explosive Yuan pill, Nye Tian still didn't put the former in his eyes. Swish! Ba Ziliang's face was ferocious as he stabbed out with his sword. The sword's aura was much sharper than before, and the sword light was even brighter. Just this kind of aura pressure wasn't something that an ordinary essence spirit martial artist could withstand. Blazing flame! Ba Ziliang roared, and the long sword in his hand spewed out scarlet flames. It was like a fire dragon, and it completely enveloped a radius of 3 feet around Ba Ziliang. You're burning your blood qi again? You're really ruthless to yourself. Nye Tianling frowned coldly. Ba Ziliang not only used the explosive Yuan pill, but also burned his own blood qi. Even if Nye Tian didn't make a move now, when the medicinal effects of the explosive Yuan pill wore off, Ba Ziliang would definitely be severely injured. Less nonsense, die! Ba Ziliang roared coldly, and the raging sword light wreaked havoc, rushing towards Nye Tian like a waterfall. Just an ant and you want to kill me? The corner of Nye Tian's mouth curled up, and he took a deep breath at the same time. The essence energy in his body surged, and his figure instantly became more agile. Who? Nye Tian's figure moved like a leaf in the wind. As he floated, he actually found a gap in the endless firelight, and with a flash, he dodged Ba Ziliang's fatal blow. How is this possible? Ba Ziliang exclaimed, shock and fear appearing on his face. Bang! In the next moment, Nye Tian seized the opportunity and punched out. Ba Ziliang's figure flew out again, and he crashed heavily. What an exquisite footwork! Like a swimming dragon, like a graceful swan. On the spectator platform, Mo Tai couldn't help but stand up and applaud. Nye Wenyuan was extremely excited as well. His face was contorted, and he was about to cry. In the past, when Nye Tian used the Great Swan Steps, it was always in the blink of an eye, and no one could see the exquisiteness of the footwork. But this time, he practically displayed the exquisiteness of the Great Swan Steps to the limit, so Mo Tai and Nye Wenyuan could see some clues. The spectators below the platform were even more stunned. They saw Ba Ziliang launch a shocking attack, but they didn't expect that he would be knocked down by Nie Tian instead. It was too strange. On the competition platform, Ba Ziliang crawled up again, and he violently spat out a mouthful of blood. Even though Ba Ziliang was wearing armor, he was still injured by a punch from Nie Tian. After being knocked down several times by Nie Tian, the rage in Ba Ziliang's heart rose to the peak. Nie Tian, today, either you die or I die. With a deep roar, Ba Ziliang's aura skyrocketed once again, and the surrounding air was filled with the smell of blood. Ba Ziliang ignited his blood once again. This time, he was putting his life on the line. Even if he died, he wanted to drag Nie Tian down with him. The crimson sword ray on the blazing flame sword Yuan spirit had a hint of blood, and the surging flames made Ba Ziliang look extremely crazy. Is he going to risk his life? Sensing the change in Ba Ziliang's aura, Nie Tian frowned slightly. Obviously, Ba Ziliang was going to stake everything on this one throw. Everyone held their breaths, and the stuffy air made the scene even more deathly silent. The spectators on the spectator platform all stood up. Everyone was clear that the next move was not the move to decide the victor, but the move to decide life and death. Nie Tian looked at the crazed Ba Ziliang, and there was no fear on his face. He only smiled bitterly and said softly, "Seems like I have no choice but to use my astral soul." Against Ba Ziliang, Nie Tian didn't even use his full strength. He didn't use the 3 seals of the war god, nor did he use the explosive Yuan pill. He didn't even use his astral soul. Originally, these things were used to deal with the people of the Bloodbat sect, but now it seemed that he had to use an astral soul. At this moment, Nie Tian had 2 astral souls, Heavenly Wolf Slaughter and 7-layered waves. The current him needed a few days to inscribe an astral soul, so he cherished the usage of astral souls. I'll use the Heavenly Wolf Slaughter astral soul. After thinking for a while, Nie Tian decided to use the slightly weaker Heavenly Wolf Slaughter astral soul. The reason why the Heavenly Wolf Slaughter astral soul was said to be weaker was because Nie Tian had spent more time and mental energy to inscribe the 7-layered waves astral soul. Ba Ziliang's aura rose to the peak, and the smell of blood in the air became even heavier. Nie Tian, die! A brutal roar rang out, and endless flames gushed out from Ba Ziliang's body. Like a river bursting its banks, it rushed towards Nie Tian. This level of attack, even if Nie Tian had the great leaf soaring steps, it would be impossible to dodge. In an instant, the entire stage turned into a sea of fire. The spectators couldn't withstand the scorching heat and retreated one after another. Nie Tian. Facing such a scene, Mo Rushi's face paled as she involuntarily called out. All along, she had always been very confident in Nie Tian. But when she felt the terror of the sea of fire, she couldn't help but worry for Nie Tian. In the midst of the sea of fire, Nie Tian's countenance was calm. Drawing in a deep breath, the primal chaos origin coffin in his body sensed something, and the Heavenly Wolf Slaughter astral soul violently gushed out. Instantly, a terrifying energy spread out, and a shadow of a giant wolf appeared around Nie Tian, enveloping him in a radius of several meters, allowing him to be unafraid of the scorching heat. Ba Ziliang, I really want to see how much blood and chi you have left. Nie Tianling laughed. He was waiting for an opportunity, waiting for the moment when Ba Ziliang's aura was at its weakest. In just a few seconds, Ba Ziliang could no longer hold on, and the blood and chi in his body were almost completely burnt out. Blood and chi was the life force of a cultivator. Without blood and chi, a cultivator wouldn't be far from death. Now's the time. Sensing that Ba Ziliang's aura suddenly weakened, Nie Tian's silhouette flickered, and the shadow of the Heavenly Wolf left his body. Like a flood dragon coming out of the abyss, it charged towards Ba Ziliang. Bang! A loud explosion rang out. Everyone saw the shadow of a giant wolf slamming into Ba Ziliang's body. Ba Ziliang's body was sent flying out of the battle stage. Instantly, blood splattered in the air, and blood and chi filled the air. Bang! With a heavy sound, Ba Ziliang slammed into the ground below the battle stage, and his body rolled for over 10 meters. On the ground, a bloody mark appeared, and the smell of blood was glaring, causing people to shiver. Ba Ziliang died on the spot, and he didn't even have the chance to scream. His face was filled with regret, fear, and despair. Everyone looked at Ba Ziliang's corpse and the glaring bloodstain. They felt a chill run down their spines, and a chill ran down their spines. The incomparably arrogant and insufferably arrogant Ba Ziliang was dead, and he died in such a straightforward and miserable manner. Nie Tian won. After a long, long time, everyone's eyes were on Nie Tian. The shock in their eyes showed the shock in their hearts. The #1 genius of Moyang City 3 years ago, after being a cripple for 3 years, he had finally risen again. Ziliang. At this moment a hysterical roar rang out. Ba Wu Li's hair stood on end and he was enraged. Like an enraged lion, his entire body's aura was released. His beloved son was killed, and the moment Ba Wu Li reacted, he completely lost his mind. Ba Ziliang, his genius son, the pride of the Ba clan, was killed right in front of his eyes. Such an outcome, Ba Wu Li could not accept. Chapter 40. Ba Ziliang was killed, and Ba Wu Li instantly lost his reason and attacked Nie Tian. Ba Wu Li was at the 9th level of essence spirit. In the instant he attacked, the phantom of a single-horned ram appeared behind him, and a terrifying force attacked Nie Tian like a tornado. Nie Tian suddenly turned around and looked at the ferocious Ba Wu Li. He shook his head and smiled bitterly, not moving at all. Bam! Bam! 2 muffled sounds rang out at the same time. Ba Wu Li's figure flew out in the air like a kite with a broken string, crashing to the ground. As it turned out, at the same time Ba Wu Li stood up, Mo Tai and Nie Wenyuan attacked. The two had long expected that Ba Wu Li would attack Nie Tian, and had been on guard. Ba Wu Li was only at the 9th level of essence spirit. Under the combined attack of 2 Wanxiang martial artists, he had no way to retaliate. Mo Tai glared at Ba Wu Li, his eyes shooting out a cold light. He said in a low voice, "Ba Wu Li, how dare you? You dare to openly violate the rules of the martial meet. Do you think I am just a decoration?" Everyone's gazes turned over, and they stared at the scene in front of them, dumbfounded. Most people did not expect Ba Wu Li to suddenly attack Nie Tian, and even more did not expect Mo Tai and Nie Wenyuan to counterattack so forcefully. As the city lord, Mo Tai had always given people the impression that he was magnanimous and amiable. Thus, he had an extremely good reputation in Moyang City. However, if someone crossed his bottom line, he would definitely not let them off easily. At this moment, Mo Tai's bottom line was that no one was allowed to hurt Nie Tian. "Old dog Ba, your son is shameless. You are even more shameless than your son." Nie Tian and Ba Ziliang had a fair fight. Ba Ziliang had armor and an explosive yuan pill, so there's no need to talk about it. To think that you want to kill someone in public. How shameless! Nie Wenyuan roared. No matter what happened, he would fight to the death to protect Nie Tian. However, Mo Tai and Nie Wenyuan both knew what they were doing, and did not kill Ba Ziliang. If they killed Ba Ziliang now, it would provoke the Bloodbat sect to make a move first. That would not be worth it. Ba Wu Li crawled to his feet. His face was covered in mud and he was in a sorry state, but he was not seriously injured. "Ba Wu Li, do you have anything to say?" Mo Tai didn't dare to kill Ba Wu Li, but he still needed to threaten him. Ba Wu Li's chest heaved up and down violently. It was obvious that he was suppressing his anger. His most beloved son was dead, and the murderer was right in front of him, but he could not take revenge. This kind of heartache, this kind of helplessness was not something that others could understand. In that instant, Ba Wu Li really wanted to charge forward and fight to the death with Mo Tai. However, he held back. He only had the strength of the 9th level of the origin spirit realm, while Mo Tai was a bona fide all-creation phenomenon martial artist. The difference of a single realm was like the difference between a flood dragon and an earth snake. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that even 10 Ba Wulis wouldn't be a match for Mo Tai. Moreover, Niewen Yuan was also present. Even if all the Ba family's martial artists attacked together, they would not be able to gain any advantage. Suppressing the anger in his heart, Ba Wuli's face was so dark that blood was about to drip out. After trembling for a long time, Ba Wuli finally said word by word, "This Ba is heartbroken over the death of my son, and in a moment of desperation, I hope that the city lord can be magnanimous and forgive this Ba this time." As he spoke, he actually bowed deeply, his attitude respectful. To be able to do such a thing under such circumstances, Ba Wuli's shrewdness could be seen clearly. Although he was apologizing verbally, Ba Wuli was already roaring crazily in his heart. "Nye Tian, Mo Tai, Niewen Yuan, after tonight I want all of you to kneel at my feet. I want all of you to suffer a fate worse than death. I want all of you to accompany my son in death." Mo Tai looked at Ba Wuli, frowning slightly. His brain was spinning rapidly, weighing the pros and cons. Judging from Ba Wuli's behavior today, it was clear that he had ulterior motives. Right now, as long as Mo Tai hardened his heart, he could directly take Ba Wuli's dog life. However, Mo Tai felt that now was not the time to shed all pretense of cordiality. The people from the Bloodbat sect must be observing in the dark. If he killed Ba Wuli now, it might really force the people from the Bloodbat sect into a corner. After sufficient consideration, Mo Tai smiled faintly and said, "Clan head Ba, on account that you are heartbroken over the death of your son, and that this is your first offense, I will let it go this time." Ba Wuli stood on the spot, a smile that was uglier than crying appeared on his face. He bowed slightly and said, "Thank you, City Lord, for your forgiveness. I am extremely grateful for the great kindness you have shown me today, and I will never forget it. In the future, I will definitely repay you generously." Ba Wuli's tone was so dark that it could almost kill. Of course, Mo Tai could hear the threat in his words, but he smiled faintly and said, "Clan head Ba is too polite. Farewell." Ba Wuli spat out these 2 words coldly, turned around, picked up Ba Ziliang's corpse, and left step by step. The Ba clan martial artists followed behind Ba Wuli and left together. Mo Tai looked at the figures of the Ba clan and sighed softly. Why did the Ba clan collude with the Bloodbat sect? Everyone stared blankly at the Ba clan leaving. No one could have imagined that this martial gathering would end up like this. Ba Ziliang was killed, the Ba clan left, Moyang City's martial gathering was officially over, and Nye Tian won first place. However, Nye Tian did not care about this first place. Killing Ba Ziliang was only to complete his agreement with Tang 13. Nye Tian, you win. Mo Rushi was like a happy little bird, practically hopping to Nye Tian's side. She knew that Nye Tian would win, but she did not expect the match to be so exciting. Nye Tian was able to defeat Ba Ziliang without a scratch. This made Mo Rushi feel incredulous. It was only now that she realized the gap between her and Nye Tian's strength was huge. Nye Tian looked at Mo Rushi, once again stunned by the beauty of the young girl before him. He could not help but caress the latter's cheek and said, "Beauty Mo, look at me, how could I bear to lose?" Mo Rushi blushed, looking even more shy and adorable. Nye Tian did not waste any more time. After bidding farewell to Mo Tai, he left with the Nye clan. Moyang City's martial gathering was over, but the real battle had yet to begin. Mo Tai, on the other hand, made the few clan heads stay behind. The Bloodbat sect would make their move tonight. Even if Mo Tai had to use forceful methods, he had to make these clan heads stay behind to help. Ba Clan Conference Hall. The Bloodbat sect's altar lord, Xiong Ba, sat on the main seat, his chest trembling, clearly enraged. "Lord Altar Lord, Ziliang is dead, please avenge him." Ba Wuli knelt in front of Xiong Ba, tears streaming down his face. Purring! The teacup in Xiong Ba's hand was crushed into pieces. He stood up abruptly. His eyes were bloodshot. Damn it! Ba Ziliang was a young genius that I, the altar lord, was actually killed. A mere local clan head. This is going against the heavens. If we don't avenge him, where will the prestige of our blood bat sect be? Lord Altar Lord, tonight we will kill our way into the mayor's mansion and take Mo Tai's life, then we will kill our way into the Nye clan, and slaughter the entire Nye clan. Ba Wu Li's eyes were bloodshot. The hatred in his heart almost made him lose his mind. He hated Nye Tian too much. All 3 of his sons were destroyed by Nye Tian. His eldest son was crippled, his second son was dead, and his third son was a fool. Ba Wu Li wished he could tear Nye Tian into 1,000 pieces, then grind his bones into ashes. Lord Altar Lord, I think that there is something strange about that young man named Nye Tian. Should we investigate his background? Deputy Altar Lord Lu Yisho was more cautious and calm. He asked carefully. Ba Wuli immediately stood up and said, Altar Lord, I know Nye Tian's background very well. There is no need to investigate. He was born and raised in Moyang City. 3 years ago, the Altar Lord sent people to help the Ba clan kill a few members of the Nye clan. Among the dead members of the Nye clan, Nye Tian's father was among them. Furthermore, Nye Tian's Yuan meridians were also destroyed in that ambush. He was trash for 3 years. Half a month ago, he suddenly became very strong. I'm guessing that he must have had some fortuitous encounter, and he must have all kinds of powerful martial arts and martial skills. Otherwise, it's impossible for his strength to be so terrifying. I had a fortuitous encounter. Xiong Ba's eyes flashed with a bright light, and he suddenly laughed strangely. A trash with destroyed Yuan meridians was actually able to rise so powerfully in half a month. This altar master wants to see what kind of fortuitous encounter he had. Seeing this, Ba Wuli hurriedly said, Great Altar Lord, as long as you help me take revenge, I will be able to help you. All the wealth of the city lord's mansion and the Nye family belonged to the altar master. The martial arts and martial skills on Nye Tian's body also belonged to the altar master. This lowly one only wants to avenge my son. Ba Wuli had seen Nye Tian fight many times, and the martial skills the latter used did not belong to the Nye family. Without a doubt, Nye Tian must have mastered many powerful martial skills. But Ba Wuli could not understand how Nye Tian could master so many martial skills in such a short period of time. Moreover, the martial skills grades were obviously not low. Could it be that Nye Tian was a martial arts monster? Nye Tian, I don't care if you're a martial arts monster or not. You killed my son, so I will definitely kill you. Ba Wuli's face was sinister, and his heart was even more sinister. Great Altar Lord, this subordinate still feels that Nye Tian is too strange, and this subordinate feels that our whereabouts have been exposed. Therefore, it's better to be cautious about tonight's operation. Lu Yisho was still worried and said worriedly. Xiong Ba waved his hand and said, Brother Lu, there's no need to persuade me anymore. This altar master has already made up his mind. Tonight's operation will proceed as planned. Take down the Castellan's mansion, and slaughter the entire Nye family. Xiong Ba was already fantasizing about the martial skills in Nye Tian's hands, and did not listen to Lu Yisho's words. Lu Yisho frowned, and the uneasiness in his heart grew stronger and stronger. Great Altar Lord, this subordinate is willing to go to the Castellan's mansion to investigate. At this time, Tang 13, who had been silent all this time, suddenly stood up and said. Xiong Ba looked at Tang 13 and said, That's fine, then I'll have to trouble 13 to investigate. If there's any news, report back immediately. Yes. Tang 13 responded, and in a flash, she turned into a shadow and disappeared. Xiong Ba looked at Tang 13's figure, and he already had a plan. Ba Ziliang was dead, so he could only recommend Tang 13 to enter the Blood Bat Gate's headquarters. Actually, Tang 13's talent and strength were above Ba Ziliang's, and she was more suitable to enter the Blood Bat Gate's headquarters. The reason why Xiongba chose Ba Ziliang to enter the Blood Bat Gate's headquarters was because he had designs on Tang 13. Xiongba knew that Tang 13 was born with other eyes, and he wanted to obtain Tang 13's other eyes. That's why he let Tang 13 stay by his side, and when the time was right, he would remove the other eyes. But now that Ba Ziliang was dead, and there were no other young geniuses in the division, he could only let Tang 13 replace Ba Ziliang. Recommending young geniuses to the headquarters on a regular basis was something that every Blood Bat Gate division had to do. If the person recommended was too weak, and there were suspicions that someone was trying to make up the numbers, then they would receive severe punishment from the headquarters. Xiongba did not dare to anger the headquarters, so he could only let Tang 13 enter the headquarters. But what Xiongba did not know was that entering the headquarters was exactly what Tang 13 wanted. Tang 13 left the Ba mansion and walked on the streets of Moyang City. At this time, the sky was dark, as if a storm was about to arrive. Chapter 41. Tang 13's request to check on the mayor's residence was not because he wanted to help the Blood Bat sect. He just wanted to see Nye Tian and see how Nye Tian would deal with the Blood Bat sect. Tang 13 knew that Nye Tian was not the kind of person who would run away. He would definitely stay and fight the Blood Bat sect to the end. Tang 13 let Nye Tian kill Ba Ziliang because he wanted the chance to enter the headquarters of the Blood Bat sect. Tang 13 already knew that Tyrant Bear had designs on his ghost eye. That was why he did not let him enter the headquarters. But Tang 13 had his own plans. He wanted to join the Blood Bat sect to enter the headquarters. He wanted to find someone very important to him, and that person had already become an assassin of the Blood Bat sect. Tang Yuyu, no matter where you are, no matter what you look like, I will find you. The ghost eye flashed with sharpness. Tang 13 was determined. The sky was dark and the clouds were low. A storm was coming soon. Tang 13's figure was like a ghost as he snuck into the mayor's residence. In the meeting hall of the mayor's residence, Nye Tian and the people of the Nye family, as well as the essence spirit warriors of the other noble families of Moyang City, had arrived. Emotai sat on the main seat of the hall. His sharp eyes swept across the crowd. He spoke in a deep voice. The Blood Bat sect is coming with great momentum this time, and they even have the help of the Ba family. I hope that in this moment of life and death, everyone can put aside their differences and work together to protect the safety of Moyang City. Emotai had already explained the situation clearly. Everyone present understood the seriousness of the matter. My lord. The head of the Ma family, Ma Jingwu, looked hesitant. We have less than 20 essence spirit warriors. The Blood Bat sect has 30 to 40 essence spirit warriors. Plus, we have the help of the Ba family. To fight against the Blood Bat sect and the Ba family with just our strength, isn't it like striking a rock with an egg? Head Ma is right. Why don't we surrender? Maybe the Blood Bat sect will let us live. The head of the Yang family, Yang Wu-di, agreed. The two of them had long expressed their obedience to the Ba clan. In addition, the Ba clan had obtained the support of the Blood Bat sect, which made them want to defect to the enemy. If Emotai had not forced them to come, the two of them would not have appeared in the City Lord mansion. Nonsense. When Emotai heard the two of them expressing their intention to surrender, he immediately flew into a rage. He stood up abruptly, and a fiery glow burst out from his body. Pooh! The fiery light flew out and hit Yang Wudi's head accurately. The latter didn't even have time to scream before his head was directly burnt and he died on the spot. Hiss! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air and looked at Emotai in horror. No one expected that the usually easygoing Emotai would be so domineering at this moment. Nye Tian smiled faintly and thought to himself, a bunch of fools. Talking about surrendering to Emotai at this time, aren't they just seeking death? Anyone in Moyang City could surrender, except for Emotai. He was the city lord, and he was very strong. If the Bloodbat sect wanted to control Moyang City, the first person they would kill would be him. You asking him to surrender is asking him to die. It would be weird if he wasn't angry. Nye Tian could also see that Emotai had some tricks up his sleeve. If these people in front of him were not of one mind, they would definitely surrender without a fight against the people from the Bloodbat sect. If Emotai did not show his domineering side at this time, it was hard to guarantee that these people would turn against him when the people from the Bloodbat sect arrive. Anyone else who wants to surrender, Yang Wudi is an example. Emotai bellowed angrily, his stern gaze sweeping across the crowd. Nye Tian signaled to Nye Wenyuan. The latter immediately understood and stood up. Nye family is willing to listen to the city lord's orders. We are willing to listen to the city lord's orders. Nye Wenyuan stood up to support Emotai. The others did not dare to have second thoughts and said in unison, "Very good." Emotai nodded his head and sat down in satisfaction. At the same time, his gaze turned to Nye Tian. Nye Tian stood up slowly, his expression turning solemn. He sized up everyone and knew their strength. Nye Tian said, "We have a total of 18 essence spirit martial artists. I will divide you into 4 groups. The first group will be led by City Lord Mo and will guard the entrance of the inner courtyard. The second group will be led by Nye Wenyuan and will guard the third corridor. The third group will be led by Mo Liang and will guard the second corridor. The first group will be led by Nye Wendy." As Nye Tian spoke, he stared at everyone's reaction. Everyone was surprised that he stood up to arrange everything, but no one dared to oppose him. Because even Emotai was under Nye Tian's orders. Nye Tian continued, "Everyone listen carefully. Your goal is to delay the people from the Bloodbat sect. Do not fight them head-on. It is best to retreat while fighting. Once the corridor cannot be guarded, quickly retreat to the entrance of the inner courtyard and meet up with City Lord Mo. The entrance of the inner courtyard is the last position. It is also the place where we will fight to the death with the people from the Bloodbat sect." Nye Tian had already analyzed the layout of the City Lord's mansion. There were 4 corridors to enter the inner courtyard. He had sent people to guard 3 corridors to disperse the strength of the Bloodbat sect. Once the people from the Bloodbat sect entered the City Lord's mansion, they would definitely attack the inner courtyard. In order to ensure that no one escaped, they would definitely split into 4 groups. If the people from the other 3 groups were delayed, then the 4th group that entered the inner courtyard would be a lone army that would be easily eliminated by Emotai and the others. In his previous life, Nye Tian was the #1 war god in the heaven realm and had fought in countless battles. He was very casual in commanding such a small-scale battle. "Alright, this is all I have to say." Seeing that no one objected, Nye Tian nodded and said to Emotai, "City Lord Mo, let everyone in the City Lord's mansion enter the inner courtyard." "Alright." Emotai nodded slightly. He was very satisfied with Nye Tian's arrangement. "Nye Tian, what about me? Which group am I in?" Mo Rushi suddenly walked into the hall. "Rushi, the people from the Bloodbat sect are extremely cruel. You should hide in the inner courtyard with the people from the Mo clan." Emotai stared at Mo Rushi and said in a tone that left no room for negotiation, "I won't." Mo Rushi's temper flared up as she said, "I am also an essence spirit martial artist. My strength is stronger than many people. I must stay." "Rushi, don't mess around." Emotai's face sank as he raised his voice. "Father, I am not messing around. I can really help." Mo Rushi was very persistent. Seeing that the father and daughter were about to quarrel, Nye Tian turned around and said, "City Lord Mo, let Rushi follow me. I can protect her safety." Emotai looked at Nye Tian and hesitated for a moment before finally nodding. "Alright, everyone, let's find our own positions. Remember what I said." Nye Tian smiled faintly at the crowd. Everyone stood up and walked out of the hall. Nye Wenyuan looked at Nye Tian and said, Patriarch, do you want me to follow by your side? Nyetian smiled faintly and said confidently, Don't worry, Great Elder. They are just a few bloodbat sect trash. This Patriarch doesn't care about them. Alright, then I will go. Although Nye Wenyuan didn't know what the limits of Nyetian's strength were, he chose to believe in Nyetian. Everyone left the hall, leaving only Nyetian and Emo Rushi. Tang 13, since you're already here, why don't you come out? Nyetian said to Tang 13 after everyone left. Nyetian, who are you talking to? Emo Rushi looked around and couldn't help but feel strange when she saw that there was no one around. Nyetian, you really didn't disappoint me. Tang 13's figure appeared like a ghost and slowly walked into the hall. Tang 13 had snuck into the mayor's mansion for a long time. He saw everything that Nyetian did just now. Tang 13 had learned a martial skill to hide his aura and hid it to the extreme. Even Mo Tai couldn't sense his presence. He was very surprised that Nyetian was able to detect his presence. You, who are you? Emo Rushi was startled by Tang 13's sudden appearance and subconsciously moved closer to Nyetian. Tang 13, Nyetian's friend. Tang 13 looked at Emo Rushi and was slightly stunned. He sensed that the latter had an abnormally powerful spirit. Tang 13 obviously didn't expect that a small place like Moyang City would have someone who could awaken such a powerful spirit. Emo Rushi looked at Nyetian. After the latter nodded, she said, My name is Emo Rushi. Nyetian smiled faintly and said, Tang 13, I have given you what you want. Now it's time for you to fulfill your promise. Tang 13 smiled, Don't worry. I have said that I, Tang 13, will do what I say. But right now, you don't have the right to see the person you want to see. Also, you have things to take care of, don't you? I don't have the right to see Tang Hao? Nyetian smiled, speechless. Tang Hao was Nyetian's direct disciple. If Tang 13 knew the relationship between Nyetian and Tang Hao, what would he think? Then when do you plan to find the person for me? Nyetian didn't want to waste time and asked directly. Tang 13 smiled, Soon. After I find the person I want to see, I will take you to see Tang Hao. Nyetian shook his head helplessly. I hope you won't make me wait too long. That won't happen. Tang 13 laughed. As a reward for waiting, I won't tell your enemy what happened here. How about that? Nyetian shook his head again. If he didn't know the relationship between Tang 13 and Tang Hao, Nyetian would have killed this ghost-eyed youth already. Okay, goodbye. Tang 13 didn't want to stay any longer. Her body moved and disappeared like a ghost. Nyetian, who is he? Emo Rushi realized that she couldn't see through Tang 13's strength and couldn't help but ask. Tang 13, from the Blood Bat House, Nyetian said honestly. From the Blood Bat House. Emo Rushi was shocked. Nyetian, Emo Rushi. Just then, Tang 13's voice suddenly rose again. I forgot to tell you, you two are really a good match. You look like a couple. After the teasing voice, Tang 13's breath completely disappeared. Nyetian smiled and suddenly whispered into Emo Rushi's ear. I think so too. Really? Emo Rushi felt her ear itch, and her cheeks instantly became bright red. It seems that you also have the same feeling. Nyetian gently bit Emo Rushi's earlobe and chuckled. Nyetian, you're shameless. You're taking advantage of me again. Emo Rushi suddenly reacted. With a sweet voice, she punched Nyetian's chest. Nyetian hugged her and said, Stay by my side later. Okay. Emo Rushi bit her lips and nodded. At this moment, she suddenly felt very happy. Emo Rushi would never forget this feeling for the rest of her life. Chapter 42. In the City Lord Manor's Great Hall, the warm moment did not last long. After a moment, battle cries sounded out from outside the Great Hall. The Bloodbat Sex people are here. Nyetian stepped out of the Great Hall, Emo Rushi following behind him. Crack! At this time, a gigantic white lightning suddenly flashed across the dark night sky, illuminating half the night sky. Rumble! Immediately after, deafening thunder sounded out. Torrential rain poured down in torrents, arriving in torrents. Tonight is destined to be a bloody and rainy night. Nye Tian raised his head to look at the sky, his eyes revealing a hint of cold indifference. The enmity of killing his father 3 years ago, he could finally avenge it today. Rushi, follow me. Nye Tian strode out in large strides, charging into the torrential rain. Mo Rushi followed closely by Nye Tian's side. In the various corridors of the city lord manor, battle cries rose and fell. Clearly, both sides had already clashed. Nye Tian brought Mo Rushi to the first corridor. Nye Wenyuan was currently leading 3 Nye family members and tangling with the Bloodbat Sex people. The Bloodbat Sex people were divided into 4 batches. Nye Wenyuan and the rest were fighting with over 10 Essence Spirit martial artists. The strongest among them was a 9th-level Essence Spirit martial artist. Bloodbat Sex beasts, die for me! Nye Wenyuan roared loudly, all the essence energy in his body surging out. Slapping out with a palm, the palm wind was swift and fierce, attacking the body of a Bloodbat Sex black-clothed martial artist who was charging right at the front. The all-out attack of a Wanxiang martial artist was exceptionally tyrannical. Arg! The black-clothed martial artist was struck head-on. With a tragic cry, he died tragically on the spot. Well killed. Nye Tian smiled sinisterly. His figure leaped up, the War God Emperor fist unleashing once more, attacking towards a 3rd-level Essence Spirit Realm black-clothed martial artist. Bang! With a muffled sound, that black-clothed martial artist was sent flying, crashing into a stone pillar in the corridor. He actually knocked the stone pillar down directly. After falling to the ground, he breathed his last. Although Nye Tian only had 2nd-level Essence Spirit strength, his absolute strength was seriously too terrifying. Under a full-powered attack, it was enough to insta-kill ordinary 4th-level Essence Spirit martial artists. The Bloodbat sect lost 2 people consecutively, but their attacks became even fiercer. These people were all desperados. Blood and death could not make them retreat. Instead, it made them even crazier. Ah! A deacon of the Nye family was hit and screamed. Patriarch, you go first. I'll stay here. The people of the Bloodbat sect were not afraid of death. They were all bloodthirsty people. Nye Wenyuan was afraid that Nye Tian would be injured, so he shouted loudly. Nye Wenyuan, protect Mo Rushi. Nye Tian didn't listen to him at all. He roared and charged toward the Bloodbat sect's fierce attack. It had been 3 years, and the person who killed his father was right in front of him. How could Nye Tian cower? Arrogant brat, you're courting death. When the people from the Bloodbat sect saw someone rushing towards them, they all laughed wildly. 4 or 5 of them attacked at the same time, and instantly, several primordial spirit attacks blasted towards Nye Tian. These few people were all 4th and 5th level Essence Spirit Realm experts. Attacking together, the aura was very strong. But Nye Tian did not care about anything. His feet executed great swan wakaba steps, the bizarre footwork ingeniously dodging all of the attack. His body dove forward, his large hand reaching out. He directly grabbed hold of the neck of a black-clothed martial artist. Die for me. With a deep, furious roar, Nye Tian's hand was like an iron pincer, suddenly exerting force, directly twisting the neck of the black-clothed martial artist. All of the black-clothed martial artists were stunned one after another, involuntarily retreating. They did not think that Nye Tian was actually even crazier than them. Who else? Nye Tian lifted his head and roared furiously. Under the torrential rain, his savage face was like a god of slaughter bathed in blood. T, you're courting death here. Venomous Wolf Fist. The strongest 9th-level Essence Spirit martial artist among the black-clothed martial artists roared furiously and punched out. A black wolf head appeared, blasting towards Nye Tian. Patriarch. When Nye Wenyuan saw that Nye Tian was in danger, he roared furiously. Essence energy surged, and his primordial spirit appeared. It was actually a ghost head broadsword. Nie Yuan's primordial spirit was different from other martial artists. His primordial spirit was no longer a phantom, but condensed into substance. Grasped in his hand, it was no different from a spirit weapon. The primordial spirit condensed into a physical form. This was precisely the fundamental difference between myriad phenomenon martial artists and essence spirit martial artists. A primordial spirit condensed into a physical form was much stronger than a primordial spirit phantom. Just that aura was not what ordinary essence spirit martial artists could withstand. Don't care about me. Chop him up. Just as Nie Yuan made his move, Nie Tian roared furiously. Okay. In that instant of danger, Nie Yuan chose to believe in Nie Tian. The ghost-head broadsword swept across the air, drawing out a shocking saber light, attacking straight for that 9th-level essence spirit black-clothed martial artist. Bang! Bang! The two people's attacks virtually arrived at the same time. Nie Tian was struck by the black wolf head, his figure falling back several steps. Stomping his feet fiercely, he immediately stabilized his figure, but immediately spewed out a mouthful of fresh blood. Receiving the all-out attack of a 9th-level essence spirit martial artist head-on, even if Nie Tian's body was powerful, it was hard to avoid injuries too. Arg! At the same time, the black-clothed martial artist was struck by Nie Yuan's saber light. A shocking bloody gash appeared on his chest, deep enough to see bone. Blood immediately gushed out in torrents. Kill them for me. The black-clothed martial artist had 9th-level essence spirit strength after all. Nie Yuan's saber actually failed to claim his life. He plugged up the bleeding wound and shouted furiously. Kill! The other black-clothed martial artists immediately went crazy, charging forward desperately. Retreat! Nie Tian gave a furious roar. Sword absolute heaven-cleaving sword appeared in his hand. A war god heaven slash was unleashed, and he withdrew and retreated. The bloodbat sex people's battle intent was too strong, not fearing death at all. Each and every one of them was like King mad dogs. If Nie Tian forcefully continued fighting, even if he could kill these people, he would also be injured. Nie Yuan took a step forward and personally brought up the rear. His ghost head saber chopped down forcefully, ending another black-clothed martial artist's life. Nie Tian brought Emo Rushi along and charged towards the inner court. Crack! Rumble! White lightning flashed across the night sky. Thunder rumbled incessantly, and the downpour became heavier. Nie Tian and Emo Rushi arrived at the entrance of the inner court. It was already a sea of blood in front of them. There were over a dozen corpses lying on the ground. Most of them were blood-bat sex black-clothed martial artists, but there were also a few from the City Lord Manor. Nie Tian, Rushi. Emo Tai relaxed considerably when he saw that Nie Tian and Emo Rushi were fine. Father, how are you? Emo Rushi asked anxiously when she saw that Emo Tai was covered in blood. Emo Tai laughed wildly and said, I killed a few blood-bat sect beasts and got some blood on me. I'm fine. The dozen or so black-clothed martial artists on the ground had clearly charged in from the fourth corridor. Their journey was unimpeded, and they were the first to arrive at the inner courtyard. However, they did not expect to become the most tragic victims. Get ready, a large number of people from the blood-bat sect will be here soon. Nie Tian wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, the fierceness in his eyes growing stronger. As soon as Nie Tian finished speaking, the sound of heavy footsteps came from afar, stepping on the puddles of water. The people from the 3 corridors retreated one after another. The number of people was slightly reduced, and many of them were injured. Following that, the people of the blood-bat sect rushed in one after another. They were like vicious wolves, their eyes revealing fierceness. On Nie Tian's side, there were still about 10 people left, while the blood-bat sect and the Ba clan had lost nearly half of their men, leaving only about 20 people. To be able to kill over 20 bloodbat sect martial artists under such a disadvantageous situation, it was all thanks to Nie Tion's ingenious arrangements. If they had fought head-on with the bloodbat sect right from the start, everyone in the City Lord Manor would have died by now. Even so, Nie Tion's side was still at an absolute disadvantage. Nie Tion. Ba Wuli's figure appeared, his bloodshot eyes staring at Nie Tion, as if he wanted to skin the latter alive. Ba Wuli, you really are from the bloodbat sect. You were the one who did that 3 years ago, right? Nie Tion said coldly, his eyes filled with killing intent. So what if it was me? Ba Wuli laughed maniacally. Nie Tion, I killed your father 3 years ago, and today, I can kill you too. Nie Tion took a step forward and stared at Ba Wuli. He said coldly, Ba Wuli, the hatred of killing my father is irreconcilable. If I, Nie Tion, don't kill you today, I am not worthy to be called a son. Ah, Nie Tion, you want to kill me? You won't be able to in this lifetime. Ba Wuli laughed arrogantly. In his opinion, the City Lord Manor would definitely lose. Nie Tianling smiled coldly and turned to Mo Tai. City Lord Mo, I'll leave the others to you. Old dog Ba is mine. Family Lord, don't be rash. Nie Wenyuan took a step forward. Although he knew that Nie Tion was powerful, Ba Wuli was a level 9 origin spirit expert, far stronger than Ba Ziliang. Don't worry, it's just an old dog. I must kill him. Nie Tion's eyes were resolute and brooked no discussion. Mo Tai and Nie Wenyuan exchanged a look and said at the same time, Finish it quickly. Xiong Ba laughed coldly and said disdainfully, a level 3 Wanxiang and a level 1 Wanxiang. This altar master wants to see how you will finish this quickly. For Wanxiang martial artists, the difference in strength between each level was like a heavenly chasm, very difficult to cross. Under normal circumstances, even if Mo Tai and Nie Wenyuan joined forces, they would not be Xiong Ba's match. But since Mo Tai and Nie Wenyuan dared to say that they would finish this quickly, they naturally had something to rely on. Their trump card was the explosive Yuan pill. The two took out the explosive Yuan pill at the same time and swallowed it. Seeing this, the others in the City Lord Manor also took out the explosive Yuan pill and swallowed it. Explosive Yuan pill. Xiong Ba exclaimed in surprise. You guys actually have explosive Yuan pills. Xiong Ba never dreamed that a mere city lord of Moyang City could take out explosive Yuan pills, and so many at once. After consuming the explosive Yuan pills, Mo Tai, Nie Wenyuan, and the others' auras surged violently. Mo Tai felt a wild energy colliding in all directions within his dantian, nearly bursting his dantian. This kind of explosive feeling made his fighting spirit soar. Level 4 Wanxiang Realm. Level 5 Wanxiang Realm. Mo Tai's expression was excited. The explosive Yuan pill actually increased his strength by 2 whole levels. Nie Wenyuan was also overjoyed. His strength had also skyrocketed to the level 3 Wanxiang realm. Looking at the others, their strength had increased greatly. Especially those level 9 origin spirit martial artists. Their strength had increased to the Wanxiang realm, and they were so excited that they wanted to cry. One had to know that it was extremely difficult to ascend from the level 9 origin spirit realm to the Wanxiang realm. Many people were stuck at the level 9 origin spirit realm, unable to advance their entire lives. The explosive Yuan pill allowed them to experience the strength of a Wanxiang realm martial artist. How could they not be excited? Slaughter them! Mo Tai roared in a low voice. He strode out, directly choosing Xiong Ba as his opponent. The others also stepped forward, gaining the upper hand in terms of aura. Nie Tion turned and walked out a few steps, pulling away from the others. Ba Wuli also walked out. The two of them wanted to fight one-on-one. Chapter 43. Mo Rushi flashed into the inner courtyard. She wouldn't be of any help in a battle of this level. In fact, she might even become a burden. Amidst the howling winds and torrential rain, a bloody battle erupted. With Zhu Chen's Yuan explosion pill, the city lord's side instantly gained the upper hand. After the first exchange, the bloodbath sect's casualties exceeded half. Originally, there were more than 20 people, but now more than 10 had collapsed. Even the strongest altar lord, Xiongba, was forced to retreat by Mo Tai and Nie Wenyuan. On the other side, Nie Tian and Ba Wuli glared at each other. Nie Tian, eat your Yuan explosion pill. Ba Wuli smiled cold, a hint of disdain in his voice. Old dog Ba, I don't need an Yuan explosion pill to kill you. Nie Tian smiled calmly. Nie Tian did indeed have an Yuan explosion pill, but he didn't plan to use it. The side effects of the Yuan explosion pill were too great. If he was injured, it might even hinder his future cultivation. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Nie Tian wouldn't use it. Moreover, Nie Tian had many trump cards in his hands: astral energy, astral souls, and the terrifying 3 seals of the war god. Thus, he really wasn't in a hurry to use the Yuan explosion pill. Little bastard, your father was very arrogant when he was alive, but I didn't expect you to be even more arrogant than him. That's good too. I'll immediately reunite you with your arrogant dog *T father. Ba Wuli seemed to be blindly angry, but his words were filled with treachery and cunning. He immediately used Nie Tian's father to provoke him. Old dog Ba, aren't you trying to provoke me? Nie Tianling smiled coldly. Congratulations, you've succeeded. As soon as he finished speaking, Nie Tian took a step forward, clenched his hand into a fist, and punched out. The afterimages of the fist shook the air and attacked Ba Wuli from a strange angle. Nie Tian's attack was swift, and the angle was tricky. Ba Wuli couldn't dodge. Arrogant brat, you're courting death. With an angry roar, Ba Wuli's aura surged, and the Yuan Qi in his body surged out, forming a huge phantom of a goat's horn. Boom! In the first head-on collision, both sides retreated at the same time. Nie Tian took 5 steps back, while Ba Wuli only took 1 step back. With just this one move, it could immediately be seen that in terms of absolute power, Nie Tian was quite a bit inferior to Ba Wuli. After all, the other party was a 9th-level origin spirit expert. Nie Tian's current physical strength was 20,000 jin. With the addition of the Divine War Imperial Fist, his explosive strength exceeded 30,000 jin. Even so, he had still been pushed back by Ba Wuli despite having seized the initiative. From this, it could be seen how powerful the 9th-level origin spirit realm was. The strength of a martial practitioner at the 9th level of the origin spirit realm is indeed far from what a martial practitioner at the 5th level of the origin spirit realm can compare to. Also, Ba Wuli has been at the 9th level of the origin spirit realm for a very long time, and his strength is almost close to the manifestation realm. I have to avoid a head-on clash with him next. After that move, Nie Tian became much more cautious. A 5th-level origin spirit martial artist's strength was roughly 10,000 caddies, but a 9th-level origin spirit martial artist's strength exceeded 30,000 caddies. The difference between the two was very obvious. Little B** starred, your strength is indeed strong enough. Ba Wuli was astonished by Nie Tian's strength. He could never have imagined that a mere 2nd-level origin spirit martial artist would be able to instantly erupt with such terrifying strength. Only now did Ba Wuli realize that Ba Ziliang dying in Nie Tian's hands was not a loss at all. Ba Wuli even felt that the outcome of this duel was not as obvious as he had imagined. Ram trampling mountain. With a furious roar, the phantom of a single-horned ram appeared behind Ba Wuli. It was 4 meters long, and its huge horns were incomparably sharp, giving off a feeling of unstoppable sharpness. A single-horned ram. This was Ba Wuli's primordial spirit. With a single glance, Nie Tian could tell that the single-horned ram was a 3rd-level primordial spirit. It was not considered strong, but if struck head-on, it would still be very fatal. Ba Wuli's speed was extremely fast. Unfortunately, Nye Tian's speed was even faster. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Nimbly shifting his feet 3 times, Nye Tian very cleverly dodged Ba Wuli's attack. Little B** starred, let's see how long you can dodge for. Ba Wuli's expression was ferocious. He punched out with both fists, and 2 afterimages of fists flew towards Nye Tian from both sides. Not only did Nye Tian not feel fear, but he even smiled lightly. Moving left and right, he easily dodged the afterimages of fists. Although the great steps of Wakaba had no offensive power, it could greatly increase Nye Tian's speed and agility. Not only could it allow him to dodge attacks, it could also create suitable opportunities for him to attack. With Nye Tian's speed, unless it was a large-scale attack from a Wanxiang or Essence Spirit martial artist, it would be very difficult to hit him. Bam! As Nye Tian dodged, he struck out with another Divine War Emperor fist, which landed squarely on Ba Wuli's chest. The latter retreated several steps, and his face instantly turned red with rage. Nice! Mo Rushi, who had been watching the duel between Nye Tian and Ba Wuli, could not help but cheer. On the other side, the battle between the City Lord's Manor and the Bloodbat sect was reaching its climax. Under the torrential downpour, the ground was littered with corpses. There were less than 10 people left in the City Lord's Manor, while the Bloodbat sect only had 6 people left. Apart from Xiongba, there were only 5 9th-level Essence Spirit martial artists left. The Yuan Burst Pill gave the City Lord's Manor an overwhelming advantage in the first place. However, the medicinal effects of the Yuan Burst Pill would gradually fade. If they could not end the battle in a short period of time, the situation would only become more and more dire. Boom! Boom! Mo Tai and Xiongba both revealed their primordial spirits at the same time. One was a 5-meter-long flaming berserk lion. Its fur was scarlet red, as though it was burning with raging flames. The other was a 6-meter-long iron-blood violent bear. Its body was like a small black mountain, and it seemed to possess overwhelming power. Mo Tai's flaming berserk lion was a 4th-level primordial spirit, and Xiongba's iron-blood violent bear was also a 4th-level primordial spirit. However, it was clearly more terrifying and stronger than the flaming berserk lion. What was even more terrifying was that both of them were Wanxiang martial artists, and their primordial spirits had already taken physical form. Right now, their primordial spirits were no different from spiritual beasts. Boom! Both of them were ferocious to the extreme, and they actually chose to clash head-on. The 2 primordial spirits collided head-on, and it was like 2 huge rocks colliding at extreme speed. The instantaneous explosion of power formed a shockwave visible to the naked eye, and it directly swept up the torrential rain, going against the flow and rushing into the night sky. The surrounding martial artists actually could not withstand the impact of this kind of power, and they all retreated. Demonic head targeting kill. Nye Yuan, who was at the side, saw the opportunity and chopped down with his demonic head broadsword. Pooh! The broadsword chopped down, and a horrifying wound appeared on the back of the iron-blood violent bear. It was at least half a meter deep, and blood instantly gushed out like a fountain, dyeing the rainwater under its feet red. Roar! The intense pain caused the iron-blood violent bear to howl. Its roar pierced through the night sky, making this crazy rainy night even more bloody. Xiongba instantly became even more frenzied, and with a wild howl, he pounced towards Mo Tai. At the same time, the battle between Nye Tian and Ba Wuli continued. Little B** starred, I will definitely kill you today. Ba Wuli's attacks all missed, and he was even forced to retreat by Nye Tian's attacks. Such a situation caused him to sink into a state of frenzy. Rainwater and blood flowed down his face, and his entire person became even more malevolent and terrifying. Are you going to go crazy? Nye Tian snickered. This is exactly the result I wanted. Nye Tian had been using the Great Swan Steps for a long time, and this was quite a burden on him. Although he managed to avoid any injuries, it also resulted in a severe depletion of his elemental energy. Although he struck Ba Wooly repeatedly, he wasn't able to deal any fatal damage to his opponent. The reason why Nye Tian did this was because he wanted to disrupt Ba Wooly's mental state, causing the latter to sink into madness. In his previous life, Nye Tian's combat experience was far too rich, and Ba Wooly couldn't even be compared to him. "It's time to use the septuple wave's astral soul," Nye Tian's lips curled up as he murmured softly. The gaze he directed at Ba Wooly was filled with coldness. "Septuple wave's astral soul, go!" Before Ba Wooly could launch another attack, Nye Tian seized the opportunity and made the first move. Taking the initiative, Nye Tian no longer held back. Astral energy gushed out from his 10th Yuan meridian, and the power of 6 astral spheres instantly erupted. At the same time, the septuple wave's astral soul above the primal chaos original coffin sensed it, and it flowed into his dantian, perfectly fusing with his Yuan meridian. The moment the septuple wave's astral soul appeared, it immediately transformed into 7 waves, like 7 spiritual snakes breaking out of the ice, and attacked Ba Wooly. "Is that all?" Nye Tian was slightly taken aback. If the septuple wave's astral soul only had this much power, then it would be too disappointing. But at this moment a strange change occurred. The 7 waves suddenly spun in the air, and in an instant, they absorbed the torrential rain in the air, and in the blink of an eye, they split into 7, and in the end, 49 phantoms. The 49 phantoms were connected layer by layer, and actually formed a green water screen, like a waterfall, pressing down on Ba Wooly. The septuple wave's astral soul seems to be even more powerful in this torrential rain. It actually absorbed a portion of the power of heaven and earth. Nye Tian felt the change in the septuple wave's astral soul, and his heart was filled with joy. He had confirmed a guess in his heart: astral souls had attributes. Precisely because astral souls had attributes, the power of the septuple wave's astral soul would be amplified in the torrential rain. Obviously, the septuple wave's astral soul was of the water attribute. Nye Tian deduced that the crimson flame astral soul from before was of the fire attribute, but he was not too sure about the attribute of the heavenly wolf kill. The sudden scene caused Ba Wooly to be slightly taken aback. In an instant, anger flashed across his face, and his single-horned ram Yuan spirit surged with a terrifying aura, blasting towards the water screen in front of him. Ram horn blasting the heavens! Ba Wooly's Yuan chi surged, and a huge ram horn was formed, several meters long. In the next instant, the huge ram horn blasted against the water screen. The water screen shattered, but in the next instant, it reformed into 7 terrifying waves, pressing towards Ba Wooly. Ba Wooly clearly did not expect such a situation to occur. With a miserable howl, his chest was struck by the 7 waves. The 7 waves were like sharp swords, forcefully leaving 7 bloody holes on Ba Wooly's body, and instantly blood gushed out. "What a powerful attack!" Nye Tian exclaimed in surprise. Even he did not expect the power of the septuple waves to be so terrifying. The septuple waves must have absorbed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, greatly amplifying its power. That's why it can erupt with such terrifying power. Nye Tian guessed. Ba Wooly's entire body was bleeding profusely, and he could not help but retreat. He pointed a finger at Nye Tian, and other than shock and anger, his eyes were filled with unwillingness. But he no longer had a chance. Before he could even finish saying Nye Tian's name, he had already collapsed into a pool of blood and rainwater. After twitching a few times, he no longer moved. Finally dead. Sensing that Ba Wooly was no longer breathing, Nye Tian muttered in a low voice. The enemy who killed his father was finally dead. Nye Tian's greatest hatred in this life had finally been avenged. At this moment, he felt extremely exhilarated. A real man should be able to repay kindness and revenge quickly. Chapter 44. Just as Nye Tian killed Ba Wuli, Xiong Ba let out a wild roar. Amidst the storm, Xiong Ba's entire body was dyed red with blood. His expression was ferocious, like an enraged beast. There was no longer anyone beside him. After a bloody battle, everyone from Blood Bat sect, except for Xiong Ba, had died. Only now did Nye Tian realize that Tang 13 had not appeared. This guy is quite crafty. With his abilities, if he hides, it will be very difficult to find him, Nye Tian thought to himself. Actually, Tang 13's presence would not affect the outcome of the battle. Nye Tian guessed that he must be hiding somewhere, secretly observing. Only Xiong Ba was left from Blood Bat sect, and only a few from the City Lord's side survived. Only Mo Tai and Nye Wenyuan were still fighting. Nye Tian flashed over, constantly on guard, in case Xiong Ba launched a desperate counterattack. Ha ha ha! Suddenly, Xiong Ba laughed wildly, the violent aura around him becoming more obvious. He glanced at Mo Tai, Nye Wenyuan, and Nye Tian and said coldly, "To think that I, Xiong Ba, an altar leader of Blood Bat sect, would be forced to this state by a few ants in a place like this. What a joke!" Xiong Ba was an altar leader of Blood Bat sect, and his strength had reached the 5th tier of all adept. He could be considered an expert. Now that he was going to die in a small place like Muang City, it was indeed regrettable. However, Xiong Ba obviously would not stop here. "Ants, you want to kill me? It won't be so easy. Even if I die, I'll drag you ants down with me." Laughing wildly, Xiong Ba suddenly took out a black spirit pill that exuded a violent aura. Blood Death Pill. Seeing the spirit pill in Xiong Ba's hand, Nye Tian's expression changed, and he growled in a low voice. "Stinking brat, you're good, to actually know about the Blood Death Pill." Xiong Ba laughed loudly, raising his head and swallowing the Blood Death Pill. Mo Tai knew that Nye Tian was an alchemist. Seeing his expression change, his heart sank and he asked, "Nye Tian, what spirit pill did he take?" "Third stage spirit pill, Blood Death Pill." Nye Tian quickly regained his composure. He said in a deep voice, instantly igniting the cultivator's blood chi, pushing the cultivator's strength to its peak. "It is enough to raise one's strength by a major realm, creating the strongest attack of one's life. Advancing by a major cultivation realm." Mo Tai and Nye Wenyuan cried out at the same time. Tyrant Bear's strength was at the 5th tier of the Wanxiang realm. If he advanced by a major realm, he would be at the 5th tier of the Giant Spirit realm. In the Giant Spirit realm, a martial artist's primordial spirit would condense a giant spirit true body. Their strength would increase by several times or even dozens of times. A full force attack would be enough to shatter a mountain. The terrifying power was not something a Wanxiang martial artist could imagine. Nye Tian nodded and said, "When a martial artist consumes a blood death pill and unleashes his final move, his blood and chi will be completely burned away, and he will die immediately. He wants to perish together with us." Tyrant Bear's blood death pill was very similar to the blood chi burning martial skill that Ba Ziliang had used before, but the power and side effects were magnified countless times. "Ha ha ha!" Tyrant Bear laughed sinisterly and roared, "I really didn't expect that in this small Muang city there would be a young man like you. Not only are you extremely talented and powerful, you are also so proficient in alchemy. You have really broadened my horizons." Tyrant Bear paused for a moment, and his face turned cold. He looked at Nye Tian and said coldly, "What a pity. Even if you have monstrous talent, you still have to die today. To be able to have a genius like you accompany me in death, my death is worth it." "Ha ha!" Nye Tian frowned slightly and said, "The blood death pill is indeed scary, but I have no interest in dying with you." "Nye Tian, what are you trying to do?" Mo Tai couldn't help but ask when he saw Nye Tian's strange expression. "Family head, don't take things too hard, okay?" Nye Wenyuan also asked when he saw Nye Tian's serious expression. Nye Tian smiled faintly and said to the two, You two enter the inner courtyard, leave this mad dog to me. Nye Tian, what are you trying to do? Mo Rushi didn't know what Nye Tian was trying to do, and she anxiously shouted. Nye Tian turned around and looked at Mo Rushi. He suddenly puffed out his chest, and with extreme confidence, he said indifferently, Rushi, believe in me. Mo Rushi was startled for a moment, but she immediately felt the strong confidence coming from Nye Tian, and she couldn't help but nod. Mo Tai and Nye Wenyuan looked at each other, nodded, and retreated into the inner courtyard. A white lightning flashed across the night sky, illuminating the mayor's mansion. Nye Tian stood tall and straight. Rumble! The earth-shaking thunder made the rain even more violent. Stinking brat, you still want to be a hero in the face of death? Tyrant Bear's blood and chi kept bursting out, and the surrounding air was filled with the smell of blood. Tyrant Bear's voice became even wilder. You have no idea how terrifying a giant spirit realm martial artist is. Do you think you will be safe just by hiding in the inner courtyard? Today, I will bury the entire mayor's mansion with me. The entire mayor's mansion? Nye Tianling sneered and mocked. It's just a blood death pill. So what if you have the strength of a giant spirit realm martial artist? You are still trash in front of me. Nye Tian's expression was cold, revealing an extreme coldness. He was the #1 war god in the heaven realm. Even if he only had the strength of a second-level origin spirit realm martial artist, he wouldn't be afraid of Tyrant Bear. I can only use the supreme seal of the 3 seals of the god of war, Nye Tian said in his heart. Nye Tian couldn't contend against Tyrant Bear right now, but if he escaped immediately, he could definitely protect himself. But escape? This was never in Nye Tian's consideration. There was no one in the world who could make the #1 war god of heaven realm escape. After making up his mind, Nye Tian prepared to use the supreme seal of the 3 seals of the god of war, soul-severing heavenly seal. 3 seals of the god of war, flowing man seal, annihilating earth seal, soul-severing heavenly seal. Each seal was stronger than the last, and each seal was crazier than the last. Nye Tian had used the flowing mortal seal before, allowing him to defeat Baziliang when he was at the origin meridian realm. If he used the flowing mortal seal or the annihilation earth seal now, it wouldn't be enough to resist Tyrant Bear. Therefore, Nye Tian could only use the soul-severing heavenly seal. But Nye Tian was too weak, unable to display the power of the soul-severing heavenly seal. Even if he borrowed the power of heaven and earth to use the soul-severing heavenly seal, he couldn't defeat Tyrant Bear. He could only minimize the damage of Tyrant Bear's ultimate attack. With my current strength, once I use the soul-severing heavenly seal, it will cause immeasurable damage to my origin meridians and origin spirit. It might even cause irreparable damage. Sigh. I've just been reborn and I have to face a life and death situation. What a tough life. Nye Tian smiled bitterly in his heart. The soul-severing heavenly seal, even when Nye Tian was at his peak, he didn't dare to use it easily. Now that his strength had dropped to less than a billionth of his original strength, it would cause an immeasurable burden on his body. But Nye Tian really didn't have any other choice. He could only fight it out. He could only pray that the Primal Chaos Original Coffin and Star Soul Original Codex were strong enough to withstand the negative damage brought by the soul-severing heavenly seal. Stinking brat, prepare to die. Accompany this altar lord in death. Tyrant Bear laughed maniacally. He knew that he couldn't escape death, and had long prepared to die together with him. Boom! As his maniacal laughter fell, a loud explosion suddenly rang out in the torrential rain. Tyrant Bear's iron blood violent bear actually started to expand rapidly. In the blink of an eye, it actually grew from 5 to 6 meters long to 50 to 60 meters, simply becoming a colossal beast, occupying more than half of the courtyard. A layer of crimson blood mist faintly floated around the giant iron blood violent bear's body, causing the surrounding environment to present a strange and violent atmosphere. In the inner courtyard, Mo Tai, Nye Yuan, Mo Rushi, and the others were scared silly. This was the first time they saw a giant spirit realm martial artist's giant spirit true body. It was a completely unimaginable power. Previously, they thought that Tyrant Bear's words of letting the entire City Lord Manor be buried with him were just arrogant words. Looking at it now, a giant spirit realm martial artist really had the strength to destroy the City Lord Manor in one blow. Everyone, retreat. Facing Tyrant Bear's giant spirit true body, Nye Tian's face was calm. With a loud roar, his palms began to form seals, and the surrounding power of heaven and earth began to slowly gather towards him. Nye Tian's strength was too weak. If he wanted to activate the soul-annihilating heavenly seal, he needed to borrow the power of heaven and earth. Roar! The giant iron-blood violent bear roared towards the sky. Its roar shook the heavens, and the torrential rain that filled the sky seemed to be afraid of its aura. The giant spirit true body was truly terrifying. Prepare to fight with your life on the line. Nye Tian smiled bitterly. He didn't expect that he would be forced into such a state by a mere giant spirit true body. If this was in his previous life, the iron-blood violent bear before him wouldn't even be able to withstand a single glance from Nye Tian. Within 100 meters, the power of heaven and earth actually reversed, and the torrential rain was drawn towards Nye Tian. At this moment, Nye Tian was like a bottomless black hole that absorbed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. During this process, Nye Tian was constantly evaluating the iron-blood violent bear's power. He had to determine how much spiritual energy he wanted to absorb, because the more spiritual energy he absorbed, the more powerful the soul-annihilating heavenly seal would be. At the same time, the side effects on his yuan meridians would also be greater. Good boy, I didn't expect you to hide so deeply. Xiongba was shocked by Nye Tian's aura, but in the next moment, he smiled mercilessly. But it's already useless. Your personal strength is too weak. Even if you have a heaven-defying martial skill, it's useless. Violent bear bombardment. With a loud roar, Xiongba's aura soared to the extreme. The giant iron-blood violent bear's body shook, and an even larger violent bear phantom appeared, almost covering the entire inner courtyard. Two giant bear claws were raised high, and in the next moment, the inner courtyard would be completely crushed into a deep pit. And, at this moment, Nye Tian frowned slightly, and the surrounding power of heaven and earth suddenly stopped, then dissipated. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth that Nye Tian had condensed instantly surged out, and all the aura dissipated. Die. When Xiongba saw this scene, he thought that Nye Tian had given up resisting and immediately roared. However, Nye Tian didn't care about Xiongba at all. His frown deepened and he muttered, "Such a powerful aura. It's actually a spirit wheel expert. There's hope now." "Who are you, madman? How dare you behave atrociously in the Mo clan? You're courting death." Just as Xiongba's fatal blow was about to land, a calm and indifferent old voice rang out. A white figure appeared in the distant sky, and the surrounding elemental energy was surging incessantly. Unexpectedly, the torrential rain couldn't get close to him, and a 100-meter spherical space was formed around him. Chapter 45. What a powerful aura! Although they were a few hundred meters apart, Xiongba could feel the unparalleled aura emitted by the white-robed figure. Xiongba panicked and pounced with his huge bare paws. "How dare you? I have spoken, yet you still dare to make a move. You are courting death." The white-robed elder was enraged. He raised his arm and lightly pointed with his finger. Puff! Suddenly, a powerful burst of chi shot out from his fingertip, and like a sharp arrow, it shot toward Tyrant Bear. The sharp arrow pierced through the air and actually affected the power of heaven and earth around it. Even the torrential rain seemed to have become a support as it gradually condensed into a water dragon that was almost 100 meters long. Like a waterfall, it rushed towards Xiongba. Bang! The water dragon hit the ferocious iron blood bear's huge body, and all of Xiongba's aura was shattered. The ferocious iron blood bear's giant spirit true body was instantly drowned, and Xiongba himself was directly crushed by the powerful impact. The attack of a giant spirit stage 5 expert that burned all of his blood and chi was actually unable to resist a casual finger from the white-robed elder. In fact, it was completely unable to resist. The scene in front of them left everyone dumbfounded. Xiongba's strength was already unimaginable, but the white-robed elder killed Xiongba as easily as crushing an ant. No one dared to imagine how terrifying his strength was. However, Nie Tian's reaction was very calm. He just looked at the white-robed elder in the air and said softly, "Is a spirit wheel expert so cool?" The spirit wheel realm was indeed very powerful. At least in Moyang City, and even the Kingdom of Blue Clouds, it was an existence that could not be defeated. There were 9 realms in the cultivation of martial artists: Yuan Meridian, Yuan Spirit, Manifestation, Giant Spirit, True Energy, Spirit Wheel, Heaven Evolution, Heaven Being, and Heavenly Emperor. The Spirit Wheel realm was 2 realms higher than the Giant Spirit realm. It was very normal for Xiongba to be unable to resist a casual finger from the white-robed elder. At this moment, Nie Tian was not shocked by the white-robed elder's strength. He was more curious about the white-robed elder's identity. The white-robed elder came in the direction of the governor's mansion and even mentioned the Mo family. It was obvious that this person had an unusual relationship with Mo Tai and Mo Rushi. While everyone was in complete shock, the white-robed old man floated down. He first glanced at Nie Tian and immediately saw through Nie Tian's strength. After that, he was not interested in looking at him a second time. Subsequently, the white-clad old man spoke. This old man is the Mo clan's outer court elder, Mo Feng. Which one is Mo Tai? Please come out. Nie Tian frowned slightly. As expected, this person came for Mo Tai. He called himself Mo Feng. Could he be from the same clan as Mo Tai? That shouldn't be possible. Nie Tian remembered that the Mo family was an aristocratic family in Moyang City. Several generations of them were born and raised in Moyang City. A spirit wheel realm expert from the same family as Mo Tai? What a joke! Nie Tian continued to watch curiously. At this moment, Mo Tai finally recovered from his shock. When he heard the person calling his name, his entire body trembled. He quickly walked out and knelt before Mo Feng. He said respectfully, "Junior Mo Tai respectfully greets Elder Mo Feng. And you may rise." Mo Feng was satisfied with Mo Tai's respectful behavior. He nodded lightly. Right at this moment, another voice suddenly sounded. "You are Mo Tai?" A voice resounded in the air. It was pleasant to listen to and very magnetic. However, at the same time, it was filled with a sense of distance. Nie Tian raised his head and saw a young man standing on the roof. He was around 20 years old. He had a handsome face and a tall figure. He was wearing a spotless white shirt, giving off a very cold feeling. Although the rain was pouring, the young man in white seemed to be repelling the rain. All the raindrops were avoiding him, allowing him to maintain his elegant demeanor. This person is quite capable. I actually didn't notice his existence. Nie Tian frowned. He began to pay attention to this young man. Nie Tian's strength wasn't strong, but his mental strength was very strong. It was comparable to a rank 4 alchemist. To be able to appear in front of him without him noticing, the young man in white was not simple. Mo Tai and Mo Feng looked at the young man in white at the same time. Mo Feng's eyes revealed a hint of unconcealable respect. This is... Mo Tai noticed Mo Feng's attitude towards the young man in white. He immediately became cautious. This is the main family's third young master, Mo Yu. Mo Feng introduced. Subordinate pays respect to third young master. Hearing Mo Yu's identity, Mo Tai became even more cautious. He immediately kowtowed and said, "Rise." Mou's reaction was very dull, and even somewhat cold. He said, "Half a month ago, you used the ink language 1,000 miles to report a matter to the main family. I want to know, is that matter true?" Half a month ago? Nie Tian's heart stirred. He immediately recalled that half a month ago was the time when Mo Rushi awakened her primordial spirit. Could it be? Nie Tian recalled that the primordial spirit that Mo Rushi awakened was a rank 9 supreme being primordial spirit, 9 skies divine phoenix. Mo family is a big family in the small Sumer world. Mo Yang City's Mo family is just a small branch. Mo Tai informed the main family after Mo Rushi awakened her rank 9 primordial spirit. Therefore, the main family came to summon Mo Rushi back to the main family. Nie Tian said in his heart. The 3,000 small worlds were also known as the small Sumer world. It was a name that was used to refer to the Sumer world. In any world, the way the superfamilies existed was very similar, one main family and countless branch families. It was certain that the superfamilies had a large population. In this case, not everyone was qualified to stay in the main family. People who were not strong enough, had no talent, or made a big mistake, such as these, would be sent to some small cities and let them establish their own branch families. Under normal circumstances, the main family and the branch families would maintain a certain amount of contact. If the branch family had a problem that they could not solve or other things, they could contact the main family. And if a super genius appeared in the branch family, once it was confirmed, they would be qualified to return to the main family. If Mo Yang City's Mo family was a branch of the Mo family, then Mo Rushi awakened her rank 9 primordial spirit. It was natural for Mo Tai to lead his clansmen back to the main family. It had to be said that Nie Tian's analytical ability was very strong. Just based on a simple piece of information, he came to a completely correct conclusion. Indeed, Mo Yang City's Mo family was a branch of the small Sumer world's Mo family. As the head of the branch family, Mo Tai always wanted to return to the main family. Therefore, when he learned that Mo Rushi awakened her rank 9 primordial spirit, he immediately used the ink language 1,000 miles to send a message to the main family. That was why the main family appeared in Mo Yang City overnight. However, Mo Tai was also very puzzled. He thought that the main family would send an outer court elder, but he did not expect that the main family's young master would come along. And it seemed that this young master's status was very high, at least a direct young master. Otherwise Mo Feng would not be so respectful to him. The direct young master of the Mo family's main family had a high status, even more terrifying than the emperor of a first-rate empire in the 3,000 small worlds. Mo Tai was born in the Mo family. Although he had been in Mo Yang City for 3 generations, he still had a good understanding of the Mo family. The Mo family, one of the 4 major families in the 3,000 small worlds, was the pinnacle force in the 3,000 small worlds. The 3,000 small worlds were actually a vast continent. On the continent there were thousands of empires of various sizes, so it was called the 3,000 small worlds, also known as the small Sumer world. In the small Sumer world, the ones who had the absolute right to speak were not those first-rate empires, but the 4 major families. The Mo family was one of the 4 major families. The direct young master of the Mo family had a higher status than the emperor of a first-rate empire. Mo Feng was just an outer court elder of the Mo family, but his strength was actually at the spirit wheel realm. This showed how powerful the Mo family's foundation was. Replying to third young master, everything this subordinate said in the letter is true, without any falsehood. Mo Tai just glanced at Mou and did not dare to look at him a second time. He had a feeling that Mou's strength was definitely above his. Mo Tai's strength was at the 3rd level of Wanxiang, and Mou's strength was at least above the 3rd level of Wanxiang, but he was only 20 years old. A 20-year-old Wanxiang warrior, just thinking about it was scary. Mou nodded and said indifferently, "Let Mo Rushi come out." When Nye Tian heard Mo Yu call out Mo Rushi's name, he immediately understood that his guess was right. However, Nye Tian could not guess what Mo Yu was thinking at this moment. Mo Feng said that Mo Yu was the main family's third young master. This introduction was very simple, too simple. Mo Yu's real identity was the legitimate son of the Mo family's patriarch, and he was also the #1 genius of the Mo family's younger generation, the top genius in the entire 3,000 small worlds. When Nye Tian saw Mo Yu for the first time, he did not perceive the other party's strength, but he knew that this person's strength was definitely above the true element realm, or even the spirit wheel realm. One had to know that Mo Yu was only 20 years old. With Mo Yu's high status, there was no need for him to appear here. Mo Feng, an outer court elder, was enough to handle everything. However, the news that Mo Tai said set off a great uproar in the entire Mo family because Mo Rushi had awakened a rank 9 origin spirit. A rank 9 origin spirit, this was simply an origin spirit that only appeared in legends. As the #1 genius of the Mo family, Mo Yu was known as the Mo family's once-in-a-century monstrous martial arts genius. Even so, what he awakened was only a rank 7 origin spirit. Looking at the 3,000 small worlds, a rank 7 origin spirit was already a monstrous existence. Mo Yu did not believe that a branch family disciple could awaken a rank 9 origin spirit. This was simply a joke. With a complicated mood, Mo Yu and Mo Feng came to Muang City together. He wanted to see if the legendary origin spirit of a rank 9 supreme being really existed. Rushi! Mo Tai shouted. After a while, Mo Rushi slowly walked out. She glanced at Nye Tian intentionally or unintentionally, and there was a bad feeling in her heart. You are Mo Rushi? Seeing Mo Rushi's face clearly, Mo Yu was a little stunned, but he was not too surprised. After all, no matter how beautiful a woman was, it was not important in his eyes. The most important thing was her talent. Mo Rushi nodded. Elder Mo Feng, start the test. Mo Yu said faintly, looking at Mo Rushi with a very complicated expression. Yes. Mo Feng bowed and nodded, and a wheel appeared in his hand. Chapter 46. The wheel in Mo Feng's hand was called the Elemental Spirit Wheel, and it was a kind of spirit tool used to test one's elemental spirit aptitude. The Yuan Spirit Wheel was a 7th-tier spirit artifact and was forged using an extremely mysterious Yuan spirit sensing substance. It could clearly test a martial artist's Yuan spirit aptitude. Looks like my previous guess was correct. What should I do next? Nye Tian stared at the Yuan Spirit Wheel, his mind rapidly changing. He knew that if Mo Rushi's elemental spirit aptitude was really at the 9th tier, it would be impossible for her to survive. Then, Mo Yu and Mo Feng would definitely bring Mo Tai and Mo Rushi back to their clan. This also meant that Nye Tian and Mo Rushi would be separated for a while. So I really did fall in love with this little beauty. Feeling the reluctance in his heart, Nye Tian couldn't help but smile bitterly in his heart. Initially, he thought that after being deceived by Luo Xian, he wouldn't believe in feelings so easily anymore. However, he didn't expect that in just a few days, he would develop such a deep bond with Mo Rushi. Should I let her go? Nye Tian was conflicted. Nye Tian was not the opponent of Mo Yu and Mo Feng at the moment, but he had his own way to keep Mo Rushi here. In his previous life, Nye Tian was an all-rounder. Not only had he reached the peak of the Tao of alchemy, but he was also quite accomplished in the Tao of smithing. He was very clear about the principles of the Yuan Spirit Wheels test. As long as he was willing, he could test Mo Rushi's Yuan Spirit to any level with just a little trick. If Mo Rushi's true spirit aptitude was at the 1st rank or below the 4th rank, then Mo Yu and Mo Feng would not be interested. Nye Tian. Just as Nye Tian was thinking quickly, Mo Rushi's gaze fell on him. Her beautiful eyes were like sapphires, revealing the shyness and cuteness of a young girl. She was delicate and pitiful, making others want to take pity on her. Mo Rushi, pour a strand of elemental energy into the wheel of elemental energy. Mo Feng walked over and said calmly. After a martial artist's origin spirit awakened, their origin energy would have a origin spirit attribute. As long as a martial artist's origin energy was tested, they would be able to determine their origin spirit aptitude. Mo Rushi was not in a hurry to act. Instead, she kept looking at Nie Tian. Nie Tian also looked over, and in that instant their eyes met. Nie Tian's mind went blank for a moment before he suddenly understood everything and nodded at Mo Rushi. Mo Rushi smiled sweetly and injected a surge of Yuan Qi into the Yuan spiritual wheel. The Yuan spirit wheel was stimulated by the Yuan Qi, and it flashed for a moment before it began to rotate slowly. Mo Tai, Mo Feng, and Mo Yu held their breaths as they stared fixedly at the origin spirit wheel. They didn't notice that there was another surge of origin Qi mixed in. 1 round. 2 rounds. 3 laps. Mo Tai's forehead was covered in beads of sweat as he counted the number of revolutions of the Yuan spirit wheel. Every time the elemental spirit wheel rotated, it meant that his elemental spirit aptitude had risen by a level. He only knew from Nie Tian that Mo Rushi's origin spirit was at the 9th rank, but he did not have much confidence in his heart. If Mo Rushi wasn't a rank 9 origin spirit, then Mo Tai would have been guilty of lying to the main family. Although he wouldn't die, his branch family would forever lose the hope of returning to the main family. 7 rounds. When the Yuan spirit wheel rotated for the 7th round, Mo Tai became excited, and his eyes looked as though they could shoot out fire. Mo Feng also had a shocked look on his face, and his mouth was wide open as though he had swallowed an egg. Mo Yu frowned slightly, and his gaze was very complicated. Mo Yu, it seems like your jealousy is not small. Nie Tian captured Mo Yu's reaction and said in his heart, the tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. A rank 7 origin spirit isn't too heaven-defying, so let's leave it at that. After Nie Tian finished speaking, the speed of the Yuan spirit wheel's revolutions slowed down, and it stopped at the 7.5 circle. It stopped. Mo Tai exclaimed in shock, 7.5 circles, not 9? As he spoke, he looked at Nie Tian. Nie Tian smiled faintly, and he had an innocent look on his face. Of course, Mo Tai didn't suspect that Nie Tian did something to the Yuan spirit wheel. His gaze was asking Nie Tian, didn't you say it was a rank 9 origin spirit? Why is it only at the rank 7? Mo Rushi's 9 Heavens God Phoenix was indeed a rank 9 origin spirit. The reason why the test result stopped at 7.5 circles was because Nie Tian had mixed his spirit energy with Mo Rushi's spirit energy. Nie Tian saw that Mo Yu was a narrow-minded person. He was the kind of person who couldn't tolerate others being better than him. If Mo Rushi's origin spirit was at the rank 9, she would definitely be persecuted by Mo Yu when she returned to the main family. Nie Tian let Mo Rushi's origin spirit turn into the rank 7, which was both talented and not too heaven-defying. It was a level that both sides could accept. Rank 7 origin spirit. Suddenly, Mo Feng laughed and shouted, it's actually a rank 7 origin spirit. It seems that my Mo family is going to have another peerless genius. That was great. Ha! Mo Feng didn't care whether Mo Rushi's origin spirit aptitude was at the rank 7 or rank 9. In his eyes, there was not much difference between the rank 7 or rank 9. They were all monstrous geniuses. Even if Mo Rushi's origin spirit was only at the rank 6, it was enough for Mo Tai's branch to return to the main family. Phew! Seeing Mo Feng's ecstasy, Mo Tai breathed a long sigh of relief in his heart. Rank 7? Just SOSO. Mo Rushi's origin spirit test result was the rank 7, which also made Mo Yu breathe a sigh of relief. If Mo Rushi's origin spirit was really at the rank 9, Mo Yu would certainly not have such an indifferent reaction. The title of the Mo family's number 1 genius must not be taken away by others. In Mou's view, the current Mo Rushi was not much of a threat to him. After all, the latter was already 16 years old and had wasted a lot of precious cultivation time. It was almost impossible for her to catch up. Seeing Mou's reaction, Nye Tian also breathed a sigh of relief. He had just made a decision to temporarily let Mo Rushi return to the main family, which would be of great help to her cultivation. It was also a good result for Nye Tian at present. Good. Very good. Mo Feng took back the wheel of origin spirit and said to Mo Tai, Miss Rushi's origin spirit aptitude is very excellent. Now, the main family invites you to take Miss Rushi back to the main family. Are you willing? Willing. I am willing. Mo Tai was stunned, but the next moment, he reacted and almost went crazy. Returning to the main family, this was the dream of Mo Tai's grandfather, father, and himself, 3 generations. Every day in Muang City, Mo Tai never stopped thinking about returning to the main family, so when he learned that Mo Rushi had awakened a rank 9 origin spirit, he immediately reported it to the main family. Today, this lifelong wish had finally come true. How could he not be excited? He was about to cry. Return to the main family? Mo Tai was very excited, but Mo Rushi was like she was struck by lightning. She suddenly came to her senses and said, I don't want to go back, I want to stay in Muang City. Mo Rushi's tears were about to flow as she turned to look at Nye Tian. Rushi, don't make trouble, Mo Tai hurriedly said. He did not want anything to go wrong at this time. I don't want to go back to the main family, Mo Rushi stubbornly said. Tears mixed with rainwater flowed down her cheeks as she suddenly ran to Nye Tian and said, I want to be with Nye Tian. I want to be with Nye Tian. When Mo Rushi's words fell, everyone was stunned. Even Nye Tian was stunned. Nye Tian knew that although Mo Rushi looked cold on the surface, she was a cute and shy girl. To be able to say such words in front of everyone, it showed how much courage she had. Mo Tai. Mo Feng glanced at Mo Tai. Nonsense. Mo Tai growled in a deep voice. He was very grateful to Nye Tian for helping Mo Rushi awaken her origin spirit, and he was also very grateful to Nye Tian for everything he had done for the City Lord's mansion. But if Nye Tian wanted to take Mo Rushi away, then there was only one word: impossible. Right now, Mo Rushi was not only Mo Tai's daughter, but also his entire hope. If Nye Tian wanted to take Mo Rushi away, Mo Tai would definitely treat him as an enemy. What Mo Tai did not know was that Nye Tian did not even think of taking Mo Rushi away at this moment. Otherwise, he could totally turn Mo Rushi's origin spirit into a Tier 1 origin spirit. Rushi. Nye Tian took a step forward and pulled Mo Rushi into his embrace, quietly injecting a stream of essence energy into her body. Nye Tian knew that after Mo Rushi returned to the main family, she would definitely undergo another origin spirit aptitude test. His essence energy could exist in Mo Rushi's body for a month, and the next time Mo Rushi's origin spirit aptitude test, she would still be at Tier 7. Nye Tian, I like you. Mo Rushi bit her lips and bravely said the words in her heart. Nye Tian nodded his head heavily and said loudly, Rushi, I like you too. I promise you, you will definitely become my woman in this life. Are you speaking the truth? Mo Rushi felt like she was in a dream, her beautiful eyes sparkling with sparkling brilliance. Nye Tian straightened his chest and said in a clear voice, I, Nye Tian, will fulfill the words that I, Nye Tian, have said before. Even if heaven and earth were to collapse, I will definitely fulfill them. I believe you. Mo Rushi's sparkling eyes were filled with joy as she nodded obediently. A stream of essence energy surged out from Nye Tian's palm, blocking the torrential rain. His eyes stared at the beautiful girl in front of him, and suddenly, he cupped her face and lowered his head to kiss her. At this moment, heaven and earth spun, and everything became empty. The surrounding people no longer existed, and the bloody torrential rain seemed to have stopped. Mo Feng looked at the scene in front of him, and his brows furrowed like a pineapple skin. His expression was extremely ugly. Emotai sighed softly and said in his heart, "Nye Tion, I know that this is unfair to you, but this time we, father and daughter, owe you. If we have the chance to meet again in the future, I will definitely make it up to you." Emotai did not take Nye Tion's promise seriously, and he only treated it as the arrogant words of a young man. Moreover, he believed that Nye Tion did not know how terrifying the Emo family's main family was. With Emo Rushi's departure, the two of them might never meet again in this lifetime. Not knowing how long had passed, 4 pairs of blazing red lips finally separated. Emo Rushi's little face was as red as a cherry, as if water could be squeezed out with a light touch. Nye Tion nodded and said, "Rushi, my current strength is too weak. If you follow me, I can't protect your safety. You and City Lord Emo go back to the Emo family's main family first. I promise you that I'll definitely look for you within 3 years. At that time, no one can separate us. Not even the heavens." Emo Rushi looked at Nye Tion with a serious expression. Tears once again appeared in her beautiful watery eyes, but she finally nodded. Emo Rushi certainly knew that Emo Feng and Emo Yu were too powerful. If she did not go back with them today, not only would Nye Tion be in danger, but even Emo Tai would also find it hard to escape the blame. Chapter 47. Nye Tion frowned slightly when he heard Emo Feng's ridicule, and he said coldly, "I'm talking to my woman. Is it your turn to interrupt? Besides, what does it have to do with you whether I'm arrogant or not? Stinking brat, do you know who you're talking to?" Emo Feng's voice was cold, and a faint aura surged out from his body, pressing down on Nye Tion. "Elder, please show mercy." When Emo Tai saw Emo Feng pressuring Nye Tion with his aura, he immediately tensed up and said, "Nye Tion doesn't have any evil intentions, he's just a bit impulsive. We are indebted to him, and Ru Shi's origin spirit was only able to awaken with his help. Tonight's incident at the City Lord's mansion was also thanks to him. Please don't be angry, Elder." Nye Tion looked at Emo Feng indifferently, and with a shake of his body, he dispersed all of Emo Feng's imposing aura and said indifferently, "Do you know who you're talking to? Young man, you are the first to dare to speak like this in front of I." Emo Feng's expression changed, and a dense killing intent enveloped Nye Tion. He originally thought that Nye Tion would pee his pants or collapse to the ground after being locked on by his killing intent. However, Emo Feng had never imagined that Nye Tion would actually be like a rock, and he didn't react at all. This boy is rather strange. A mere second-level origin spirit martial artist actually doesn't fear my aura oppression. Emo Feng was calm on the surface, but he was incredibly shocked in his heart. "Old man, you're the first one who dares to speak like this in front of this young master." Nye Tion didn't back down at all. Facing Emo Feng's sharp killing intent, he remained calm and composed. Emo Feng could sense the overbearing confidence in Nye Tion. His expression turned stiff as if he was thinking about something. The next moment, he said, "It's good for a young man to have a backbone, but it's not necessarily a good thing if it's too tough. A mere second-level essence spirit ant, not going to cultivate properly, but blindly pursuing some things that he shouldn't be pursuing. Let this old man give you a piece of advice. You shouldn't bite off more than you can chew. Otherwise, you'll suffer instead." Nye Tion frowned slightly. He was no fool, so he naturally heard the malicious ridicule in Emo Feng's words. Emo Feng glanced at Nye Tion and continued, "Miss Ru Shi will soon return to the Emo family's main branch and follow third young master and this elder to Sumi Spirit Capital. From now on, you and Miss Rushi are destined to be people of 2 different worlds. The gap between the 2 of you will only grow bigger and bigger. She is a phoenix that soars in the 9th heaven, and you are just a loach that rots in the mud. If you really like her, then don't be her stumbling block. Right now, you're just a burden to her. So this old man advises you to let go as soon as possible." "Let go?" Nye Tian shook his head with a smile and said indifferently, I, Nye Tian, am not a greedy person. I don't want things that don't belong to me. What belongs to me, I won't let go even if I die. If Rushi doesn't love me, I will definitely let her go. If she loves me, and I happen to love her, then I will never let go. Nye Tian, I love you. Mo Rushi looked at the resolute face of the young man in front of her, and said emotionally, If you don't let go, I won't let go. Mo Feng's brows wrinkled even deeper. Looking at the two people in front of him, he didn't know what to say. The words that were originally meant to attack Nye Tian turned into a solemn pledge of eternal love in the other party's mouth, making Nye Tian and Mo Rushi's hearts closer together. You're called Nye Tian? Suddenly, Mo floated down from the roof, looked at Nye Tian and faintly asked. Nye Tian glanced at Mo and did not speak. Nye Tian didn't like others being arrogant, especially not in front of him. Do you know what the Mo family stands for? Mo frowned slightly and asked. I don't know. Nye Tian smiled faintly and said, I don't want to know. Humph. Mo smiled coldly and said, You don't know, that's why you dared to say what you just said. Now I will tell you what the Mo family stands for. After a pause, Mo's face was arrogant as he said in a loud voice, The Mo family stands for a strength that you simply can't imagine, the Mo family stands for a height that you can never reach, the Mo family stands for a gap that you can never cross in your life, the Mo family also stands for the fact that you can never see Mo Rushi again. Each sentence was louder than the last, and more imposing than the last. But in the eyes of Nye Tian, Mo at this time was completely an idiot. The phrase, frog at the bottom of a well, a sparrow under the eaves was specifically used to describe this kind of person. Just a young master of a family in a small Sumeru world. Nye Tian really didn't know where Mo got such shameless confidence. Seeing that Nye Tian didn't speak, Mo smiled coldly and said, Nye Tian, now you know what the Mo family stands for. Nye Tian shook his head slightly and said in his heart, Now I know that the Mo family stands for a basket full of idiots. The reason why Nye Tian didn't say this sentence was that he was worried about Mo Tai and Mo Rushi being present. After thinking for a while, Nye Tian suddenly looked up at Mo, smiled playfully and said, Since you said so much about the Mo family, I'm really a little interested. How about this, let's make an agreement. 3 years later, I'll go to Sumeru's spiritual capital to find you. At that time, we'll have a life and death battle. How about it? For the first time, Nye Tian took the initiative to issue a challenge. Because he really couldn't stand Mo's arrogance. Mo smiled disdainfully and said proudly, I'm currently at the 9th level True Essence realm, and you're just at the 2nd level Origin Spirit realm. The disparity between us is like the difference between clouds and mud, the difference between a dragon and a bug. What right do you have to challenge me? With your talent, forget about 3 years, even if it's 30 years or 300 years, you're still an ant in front of me. As long as I want to, I can crush you to death with a little finger. Why should I accept your challenge? Essence Spirit Realm, Myriad Phenomenon Realm, Giant Spirit Realm, True Essence Realm. The difference between Nye Tian and Mo was 3 major realms. Wanting to catch up within 3 years, anyone would think that this was something impossible. It was also no wonder that Mo would have such a reaction. However, Nye Tian was very confident that he could definitely catch up to Mo within 3 years, and might even surpass the other party. What Nye Tian needed the most right now was time. As long as he was given time, any genius would be trampled underfoot by him. Mo reaching the 9th level True Essence realm at the age of 20 was indeed regarded as amazingly talented. However, compared to Nye Tian's talent in his previous life, there was still a long way to go. One had to know, the previous life's Nye Tian was already a Heavenly Emperor realm martial artist at the age of 20, abnormal until it made people's hair stand on end. Facing Mo's contemptuous attitude, Nye Tian smiled calmly and said, I admit that I'm not your opponent right now. But I also won't think that you're a flood dragon, and I'm a bug. If you're really a flood dragon, then you shouldn't be afraid of the challenge of a bug. Is it necessary for me to accept your challenge? Mou smiled sinisterly. He was not a 3-year-old child. Of course, he would not fall for Nie Tian's provocation. Indeed, in anyone's opinion, there was no need for Mou to accept the challenge, because the two were not on the same level at all. Third young master, there's no need to talk nonsense with an arrogant fool. Let's go. Mo Feng glanced at Nie Tian disdainfully. He did not want to talk nonsense anymore and said directly, Rushi, let's go. Mou did not want to stay and shouted to Mo Rushi. Mo Rushi looked at Nie Tian affectionately, and her eyes were full of reluctance. Nie Tian frowned slightly and suddenly asked, Rushi, after 3 years, I will defeat him. Do you believe me? I believe you. Mo Rushi nodded directly without any hesitation. Good. Nie Tian suddenly smiled and said, Since you believe me, then I must show you. Nie Tian took a step forward and said, That genius at the true essence 9th layer, watch carefully. Mou and Mo Feng paused and turned to look at Nie Tian. Nie Tian raised his hand and spread his 5 fingers. His origin energy instantly gushed out, and suddenly, 5 red flames gushed out from his 5 fingers. 9 heavenly fire art burn for me. With a low shout in his heart, the 5 flames suddenly soared and turned into 5 small fire dragons that directly rushed into the stormy sky, rising dozens of meters before disappearing. What a powerful spiritual force! Mo Feng was extremely surprised and suddenly lost his voice. Mou's expression also stiffened, and he said in his heart, Not only is his spiritual force powerful, but his control of fire has also reached a superb level. Even a Tier 3 alchemist cannot compare to him. Mou was not an alchemist, but he had seen alchemists control fire. Even a Tier 3 alchemist could not compare to Nie Tian. Could it be that he is a Tier 4 alchemist? A guess popped up in Mou's heart that made his hair stand on end. Tier 4 alchemist, that required spiritual force of 40 ranks. Moreover, Moyang City was a third-rate city in a third-rate empire. How could there be a Tier 4 alchemist, and such a young one at that? A teenage Tier 4 alchemist, even in Sumi Ling capital, was an extremely monstrous existence. Nie Tian was a Tier 4 alchemist? Absolutely impossible. Nie Tian looked at Mou and completely saw through the latter's thoughts. He said with a sneer, Mou, a second-level origin spirit martial artist is not qualified to challenge you, then a Tier 4 alchemist is qualified to challenge you. You really are a Tier 4 alchemist? Mou's surprise and shock were written all over his face, and even his body trembled. A Tier 4 alchemist, even in Sumi Ling capital, was a very noble existence. Especially when Nie Tian was still so young. If he really entered Sumi Ling capital, he would definitely be fought over by those alchemy grandmasters to be their disciple. Mo Feng's expression froze for a moment, and finally reacted. He took a step forward and said, This little friend, I didn't expect you to be a Tier 4 alchemist. Just now, this old man was really disrespectful. If I have offended you in any way, please forgive me, little friend. Nie Tian's Tier 4 alchemist identity made Mo Feng's attitude take a 180-degree turn. Mo Feng did not think that Nie Tian could become a Tier 4 alchemist by relying on his own strength. He guessed that there must be a super-powerful teacher behind Nie Tian. Thinking of what Mo Tai said just now, that Mo Rushi's primordial spirit awakening was due to Nie Tian's help, Mo Feng felt that his guess was even more reasonable. Even the Mo family was not willing to offend a high-level alchemist at will. Nie Tian glanced at Mo Feng and said in a cold voice, I'm not your little friend, I'm just a small loach rotting in the mud. Mo Feng quickly bowed and said, This old man has made a slip of the tongue just now, please forgive me, young master. Nie Tianling smiled and no longer talked nonsense with Mo Feng, but asked Mo, how about it? Do you accept my challenge? Third young master. Mo Feng quickly waved his hand at Mo, indicating that he should not agree. The Mo family was not willing to completely offend a high-level alchemist because of a few words. Those old monsters of alchemy sneered at others, but they were closer to talented disciples than their own sons. If Mo killed Nie Tian, the teacher behind the latter would never let go of the Mo family. Chapter 48. Nie Tian had proven his identity as a fourth-rank alchemist, so Mo must now face his challenge. Are you afraid? Nie Tian sneered. Mo's eyes flashed with anger and he secretly clenched his fists. After a long while, Mo looked up and said coldly, "Since you are courting death, don't blame me. 3 years later, in Sumi spiritual capital, I will fight you to the death. Both sides will have their own destinies. No matter what the result is, the forces behind us must not interfere." Good. Nie Tian smiled with satisfaction. It's a deal. In any case, there was no force behind Nie Tian. He was his own backer. How could this be? Alas! Mo Feng sighed dejectedly. He knew that this matter could not be reversed and could only wait until he returned. Those old alchemy monsters were all good at protecting their disciples. Even if he said in advance that life and death was up to the heavens, it would be useless. Elder Mo Feng, I'll go first. Mo was in a bad mood and didn't want to stay for even half a minute. His figure moved and turned into an afterimage as he left. Mo Feng looked at Mo Tai and Mo Rushi father and daughter and said, "Let's go. All the Mo family members of Moyang City's branch, return to the main family with me." "Yes, many thanks, Lord Elder." Mo Tai reacted and was ecstatic. Mo Tai was deeply shocked by the strength shown by Nie Tian, but he was very puzzled by Nie Tian's decision to fight Mo. He thought that Nie Tian's move was very impulsive and almost stupid. Mo Rushi was very confident in Nie Tian. She walked to Nie Tian's side, looked at Nie Tian, and said emotionally, "Nie Tian, no matter what you do, I believe in you. I will wait for you in Sumi spiritual capital. You must come to me." Nie Tian stroked Mo Rushi's face and nodded repeatedly. After a while, Mo Feng summoned a four-winged griffin. The four-winged griffin was a rank 5 spirit beast. It was 100 meters long and landed in the city lord's mansion, crushing many houses. The four-winged griffin's 4 wings slowly fell to the ground like stairs. The people from the city lord's mansion stepped onto the four-winged griffins one by one. Nie Yuan and the others stood behind Nie Tian. They did not know how to describe the shock in their hearts. They had seen everything that Nie Tian had done before, and their hearts had almost collapsed again and again. Now that he saw the rank 5 spirit beast, the four-winged griffin, he was actually able to remain calm. "Nie Tian, I have to go." Mo Rushi was the last to step onto the griffin, one hand still in Nie Tian's hand. Nie Tian smiled faintly and finally let go of Mo Rushi's hand. "Nie Tian, I'll be waiting for you. You must come and find me." Amidst the howling wind and torrential rain, the four-winged griffin suddenly took off, but Mo Rushi's voice still rang in his ears. Nie Tian looked at the gradually breaking dawn sky, sending off the four-winged griffin with his eyes. He thought to himself, "Rushi, I will definitely come and find you. Wait for me." 3 years later, Nie Tian would definitely set foot on Sumi spirit capital. "Clan head, what should we do now?" Nie Yuan looked in the direction where the four-winged griffin disappeared and carefully asked. Nie Tian smiled faintly and said, "You go back to the Nie residence first. The city lord residence will remain the same. If my guess is correct, after half a month, the Mo family will send people to clean up the mess. With the Mo family supporting us, Moyang City will be absolutely safe." Yes. Nie Yuan was now almost obedient to Nie Tian. With Mo Tai gone, the Mo family would definitely send other Mo family branches to take over Moyang City. As for the Bloodbat sect, with the Mo family's people, even if the Bloodbat sect ate 10,000 gallbladders, they would not dare to make a move on Moyang City. Nye Yuan and the others immediately left. At this time, the sky was gradually brightening and the rainstorm was much lighter. Nye Tian looked at the corpses around him and suddenly smiled. Tang 13, are you still not coming out? As his voice fell, a figure appeared like a ghost. It was Tang 13. Tang 13 had been hiding in the dark, and everything that happened just now was seen by him. Because of the heavy rain and the smell of blood, even Mou and Mo Feng were not aware of his existence. Nye Tian, do you know who Mou is? You actually dared to challenge him, I really admire you. Tang 13 said faintly, looking at Nye Tian with a touch of playfulness. You know Mou? Nye Tian raised his eyebrows. Tang 13 said, I don't know him, I've only heard of him. I have long known that he is one of the 3 great evildoers of Sumi Ling City. Seeing him today, he really lives up to his reputation. You are also a person of Sumi Ling City? Nye Tian's mouth hooked up. Sumi Ling City, the center of the small Sumi world. All the great forces and families of the small Sumi world were entrenched in Sumi Ling City. If Tang 13 came from Sumi Ling City, it meant that the Tang family also had a place in Sumi Ling City. Have you heard of the 4 great families of the small Sumi world? Tang 13 asked. Let me hear it. Nye Tian smiled faintly. In his previous life, he was too strong. In this life, he was too weak, so he had never heard of the 4 great families of the small Sumi world. Tang 13 nodded and said, in the small Sumi world, there are thousands of empires of various sizes, so it is also known as the 3,000 small worlds. These empires are divided into 3 levels according to their strength. First-rate empires, second-rate empires, and third-rate empires. The Blue Cloud Empire, where we are now, is a third-rate empire, subordinate to a second-rate empire. And the second-rate empire is subordinate to the first-rate empire. First-rate empires are considered very powerful organizations in the small Sumi world. However, most of the first-rate empires also need to be subordinate to other organizations in order to survive. There are about 40 first-rate empires in the small Sumi world, and nearly half of them are controlled by the 4 great families. The 4 great families are the top organizations in the small Sumi world. In the small Sumi world, the ones who have the absolute right to speak are not the first-rate empires or the first-rate sects, but the 4 great families. The Mo family is one of the 4 great families. Just now, Mo Feng was just an outer elder of the Mo family, but his strength was already at the spirit wheel stage. This shows how powerful the Mo family is. Nye Tian faintly nodded, but he was a little surprised in his heart. Of course, he wasn't surprised at the strength of the Mo family, but at the complexity of the division of power in this insignificant small Sumi world. What is Mou's position in the Mo family? Nye Tian asked. Tang 13 said, Mou is the legitimate son of the Mo family's leader, and he is the number 1 genius of the Mo family's younger generation. He is one of the 3 monstrous geniuses of Sumi Ling City. It is not an exaggeration to say that his status is much higher than the emperor of a first-rate empire. With your current strength, challenging him is tantamount to hitting a rock with an egg. Hitting a rock with an egg? Nye Tian playfully smiled and said, there are still 3 years. Maybe this egg of mine is a dragon egg. I can break out of the egg and become a dragon, soaring to the sky. Tang 13 smiled and shook her head. I admit that your talent is very monstrous. Even compared to Mou, you are not much inferior. However, the Mo family is a colossus. Offending them won't do you any good. Nye Tian smiled and didn't comment on Tang 13's words. Then, he suddenly asked, the Tang family is also one of the 4 aristocratic families, right? Tang 13 froze for a moment, then shook her head and smiled. The Tang family is not one of the 4 aristocratic families. After a pause, Tang 13 said seriously, "The Tang family is the leader of the 4 aristocratic families." It wasn't strange that Nie Tian could guess that the Tang family was one of the 4 aristocratic families. Since Tang 13 knew so much about the Mo family and Mou, it meant that he was from Sumi Ling City. When Tang 13 mentioned the Mo family, he didn't have the slightest bit of fear. He was very calm. This meant that the power behind him was not much different from the Mo family, maybe even more terrifying. Combining all of these guesses, Nie Tian guessed that the Tang family was one of the 4 aristocratic families. The leader of the 4 aristocratic families. It seems that the Tang family's power is greater than the Mo family. Smiling in his heart, Nie Tian asked again, "What is Tang Hao's position in the Tang family?" "You don't know who Tang Hao is?" Tang 13 was speechless. Then, he said, "It's your teacher who is looking for Tang Hao, right?" Tang 13 knew that Nie Tian was a level 4 alchemist. Naturally, he thought that Nie Tian had a terrifying teacher behind him. "Yes." Nie Tian nodded. After hesitating for a moment, Tang 13 said, "Tang Hao is the Tang family leader. I don't know why your teacher is looking for Tang Hao, but I know that without my help, you won't be able to meet Tang Hao." Tang family leader? Nie Tian was a little surprised. He didn't think that his youngest disciple was already a famous person in the mini Sumi world. Tang Hao's status is very high. However, you are very lucky to have met me. Tang 13 thought that Nie Tian was scared by Tang Hao's identity and smiled faintly. "Yes. I am very lucky." Nie Tian nodded. In his heart, he thought, "It's been 100 years, and Tang Hao is still in the mini Sumi world. As his teacher, I feel ashamed." Of Nie Tian's 9 great disciples, which one of them wasn't a giant in the heaven realm? Perhaps only the youngest Tang Hao was still struggling in the mini Sumi world. The others must be in a higher world. Actually, this couldn't be blamed on Tang Hao. After all, when Nie Tian died, he was only a teenager. He didn't even have the chance to listen to Nie Tian's teachings. However, Tang Hao's identity was passable. At least in the mini Sumi world, he was at the peak of existence. After all, the Tang family was the head of the 4 aristocratic families. They were even more powerful than the Mo family. "Tang 13, what's your relationship with Tang Hao?" Nie Tian raised his head and asked. Tang Hao was the Tang family leader. Tang 13 was at least a direct descendant of the Tang family. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to meet Tang Hao. "I can't say." Tang 13 smiled slyly. Her gaze swept across the room. Her eyes lit up. She picked up a token from the ground and smiled. "I got the blood bat token." Nie Tian was slightly stunned. The blood bat token must have fallen from Xiongba's body. However, Xiongba had already become a pile of meat. The blood bat token was what Tang 13 needed. Only with the blood bat token could she enter the headquarters of the blood bat sect. "Nie Tian, if there's nothing else, I'll be taking my leave." Tang 13 put away the blood bat token and said to Nie Tian, "Where are you going?" Knowing that Tang 13 and Tang Hao's relationship wasn't ordinary, Nie Tian was a bit more concerned. The imperial city of the Blue Cloud Empire, Blue Cloud City. Tang 13 smiled faintly. She gazed at the horizon and said in her heart, "Tang Yuyu, wait for me. I'll definitely find you." "You want to go to the headquarters of the Bloodbat sect?" Nie Tian remembered that the headquarters of the Bloodbat sect was in Blue Cloud City. Tang 13 holding the Bloodbat token clearly meant that she wanted to enter the headquarters of the Bloodbat sect. He didn't understand. How could a youth from the Sumi spiritual capital be related to an organization like the Bloodbat sect? Yes. Tang 13 didn't deny it. She nodded and said, "I know you won't stay in a small place like Moyang City. Let's meet again in Blue Cloud City." After speaking, Tang 13's figure moved and disappeared. Chapter 49. A month later, Nye Manor. Strange, strange. Strange, strange. Inside the room, Nye Tian looked at the little thing on his palm and was simply dumbfounded. In the center of Nye Tian's palm, a furry little fellow slightly opened its drowsy eyes. The little fellow had a chubby body and a short tail. Its entire body was composed of black and white, looking very much like a bear. But the two large dark circles around its eyes made it look without the fierceness of a bear. Instead, it had a kind of charmingly naive cuteness, especially its tiny size, only the size of an infant's fist, looking like a small ball of fur. The little fellow flipped its body clumsily on Nye Tian's palm. Two chubby little paws extended out as if seeking protection. This fellow wouldn't be the legendary Pishio, right? Nye Tian stared at the little fellow in his hand, and only muttered after a long time. Pishio was a kind of ancient spiritual beast. Its specific rank was unknown. It was said that it was a direct bloodline of the divine dragon and had already gone extinct during the Middle Ages. Rumors had it that adult Pishio's combat strength rivaled heavenly emperor powerhouses. It was very freakish. Apart from this name, Pishio had another name, Iron-Eating Beast, because this fellow liked to chew on hard things. Bamboo, stones, iron chunks, it would not reject anything. And in another world, Pishio also had a very resounding name, Giant Panda. It was said that it was even designated as a national treasure by an ancient empire. The frost snake gave birth to a Pishio. Really blinded my purple gold dog eyes. Nye Tian swallowed a mouthful of saliva, very agitated in his heart. The little Pishio on his palm was precisely hatched from the frost snake egg. Frost snakes generally could hatch their shells in 3 days. Nye Tian's frost snake egg used close to 50 days before hatching. Nye Tian had long known that the frost snake egg mutated, but did not think that the mutation was so exaggerated, to actually hatch a Pishio. If such a thing were to spread out, it would absolutely be an extraordinary story in the world. The snake race and the dragon race have an inexplicable relationship, and the Pishio is a direct blood relative of the divine dragon. Looking at it this way, the frost snake giving birth to a Pishio is also very logical. Nye Tian murmured. Even he himself was convinced by this reasoning. Let's see what this little fellow's attributes are first. After calming down a little, Nye Tian's mental power explored the little Pishio's body, and the surprise in his heart was immediately written on his stiff face. On the body of the little Pishio, Nye Tian felt the aura of 2 attributes at the same time. One was the cold aura, and the other was the power of the stars. Little Pishio actually absorbed the power of the stars. No wonder its mutation was so exaggerated. Nye Tian suddenly understood. The frost snake's previous mutation might not have been that big. It must have absorbed a portion of the power of the stars. That was why it directly showed signs of atavism and mutated into a Pishio. This little thing, it's sleeping as soon as it's born. The little Pishio fell asleep in Nye Tian's palm, causing Nye Tian to smile speechlessly. The rumors that the Pishio loved to sleep and eat were indeed true. Nye Tian carefully placed the little Pishio in his bosom. Right now, he did not dare to put the Pishio in his storage pouch. It would be terrible if it accidentally suffocated to death. After the Pishio grew up a little, Nye Tian must find a spirit pet pouch. But a spirit pet pouch was something even more expensive than an interspatial ring. The current Nye Tian could not afford it. If I put it in the Chaos Origin coffin, will it work? A thought suddenly popped up in Nye Tian's mind. But he did not dare to do it rashly. The Pishio was an ancient spirit beast that had already gone extinct after all. If it died all at once, then the gains would not make up for the losses. Nye Tian was prepared to wait for the Pishio to become a little stronger before thinking about it. After a month of bitter cultivation, the current Nye Tian was already a 3rd-level essence spirit martial artist. The power of the stars in his body also already awakened 12 stars. His current combat strength was twice as powerful as a month ago. Of course, Nye Tian did not forget to inscribe astral souls at the same time as he cultivated. A month's time, he inscribed 2 astral souls on the Chaos Origin coffin: Blood Feather Heavenly Fiend and 8 Remoteness Dragon Roar. The Blood Feather Heavenly Fiend and 8 Remoteness Dragon Roar were even more intricate than the 7-layered waves and other astral souls from before. Inscribing each one took close to 10 days of Nye Tian's time. If not for inscribing astral souls, Nye Tian's strength could definitely reach the 4th level Essence Spirit Realm, or even the 5th level Essence Spirit Realm. After all, inside the Chaos Origin coffin, the flow of time was only 1/10 of the outside world. When inscribing astral souls, Nye Tian had to come out from the Chaos Origin coffin. Hence, he wasted a large amount of time. The reason why he was in such a hurry to inscribe astral souls was because Nye Tian was preparing to leave Moyang City. With 2 astral souls by his side, Nye Tian would also have more confidence when encountering powerful enemies. Originally, Nye Tian planned on leaving very early, but Moyang City's situation was still not stable, hence he was delayed for a month. The current Moyang City had already completely stabilized. The Mo clan had sent out another Mo clan branch to take over Moyang City. With the Mo clan holding the fort, the Bloodbat sect would definitely not dare to act recklessly. Currently, the Nye clan and Mo clan were on good terms. Both clans had taken over the Ba clan's businesses, and the Nye clan was gradually recovering to its former glory. Let's go, it's time to leave. Walking out of the room, Nye Tian stretched his body. He would be leaving Moyang City today. He had already informed Nye Wenyuan. When Nye Tian wasn't around, everything in the Nye clan would be managed by Nye Wenyuan. Nye Tian had concocted quite a number of spiritual pills for the Nye clan. Due to the lack of medicinal ingredients, the spiritual pills were only half-finished products. But to the Nye clan, they were already considered priceless treasures. Clan Head. At the entrance of the Nye clan, Nye Wenyuan had already been waiting for a long time with the Nye clan's members. Clan Head. Everyone bowed and greeted. Nye Tian lightly smiled. Grand Elder, when I'm not around, the Nye clan's matters will all depend on you. Clan Head, what are you saying? I'm also a member of the clan. It's only natural for me to worry about the clan. Nye Wenyuan bowed. Nye Tian nodded. At most a year, at least half a year. I will definitely return to the Nye clan. After saying this, Nye Tian didn't waste any more words. He strode out of the door. Nye Wenyuan looked at Nye Tian and said in his heart, Nye Tian, I know that you're not a fish in a pond. I only hope that you can emerge from the abyss like a hidden dragon and laugh at the 9 heavens. Brother Nye Tian, wait for me. Not long after Nye Tian had left, a clear voice rang out. Nye Tian turned around and saw 9th sister, Nye Yuro, running towards him with a small bag on her back. Yuro, what are you doing? Nye Tian looked at Nye Yuro's comical expression and smiled. Nye Yuro raised her little face and said with a serious expression, Brother Nye Tian, Roer wants to go out with you to gain experience. If someone bullies you, Roer can protect you. Everyone in the Nye clan laughed at Nye Yuro's words. Yuro, don't mess around. The clan head is going out to gain experience. The outside world is very dangerous. The clan head doesn't have the time to take care of you. Nye Wenyuan shouted, trying to scare Nye Yuro. Who needs Brother Nye Tian to take care of me? Who knew that Nye Yuro would be very stubborn? She said with a serious expression, It's precisely because the outside world is very dangerous that Roer is worried about Brother Nye Tian. That's why I want to follow him and protect him. Yuro. Nye Wenyuan was a little angry. Nye Tian waved his hand and interrupted Nye Wenyuan, saying, Since 9th sister wants to protect me, I can't refuse. Let her go with me. Clan head this. Nye Wenyuan had a difficult expression. It was already very dangerous for Nye Tian to go out alone. If he brought a 9-year-old girl, wouldn't it be even more dangerous? That's it, we're leaving. Nye Tian didn't say anything. He held Nye Yuro's little hand and left. Grandpa Great Elder, goodbye. Don't worry, Rower will definitely take good care of brother Nyetian. While walking, Nyeyuro turned around and shouted. Chapter 50. After leaving the Nye residence, Nyetian put Nyeyuro's little bundle into his storage pouch. Nyetian, Gidge, where did my bundle go? Nyeyuro asked in confusion when she saw her bundle suddenly disappear. Nyetian, carrying the storage pouch, he smiled and said, This is a storage pouch, there is a lot of space inside. Your bundle is in the storage pouch. So magical. Nyeyuro's face was full of joy. Nyetian smiled. When your strength reaches the origin spirit realm, I will give you a storage pouch. Really? Nyeyuro's eyes widened exaggeratedly. She then stretched out her pinky and said, Pinky promise. Nyetian speechlessly extended his hand. The reason why Nyetian wanted to bring Nyeyuro was because he discovered that his ninth sister's strength was already at the 6th level of the origin meridian realm. Just a month and a half ago, Nyeyuro's strength was only at the 4th level of the origin meridian realm. To be able to improve so much in such a short period of time, Nyetian's semi-manufactured pills had helped a lot. But it was undeniable that Nyeyuro was indeed a genius. It would be a pity if she stayed in the Nye family. Nyetian brought Nyeyuro and quickly left Moyang City, heading towards Blue Cloud Imperial City. Blue Cloud Empire, a third-rate country in the small Sumer world, was only a few thousand miles in radius. Moyang City was located in the extreme south of Blue Cloud Empire, about 2,000 miles away from Blue Cloud Imperial City. If Nyetian was alone, he could reach Blue Cloud City in half a month at full speed. Now that he brought Nyeyuro, his speed was much slower. 5 days later, Nyetian and Nyeyuro finally left the province where Moyang City was located and stepped onto the official road to Blue Cloud City. Nyetian, Gidge, look, Xiaoguai is asleep again. It's so strange, it sleeps all day, why can't it get enough sleep? Nyeyuro said to Nyetian as she gently stroked the sleeping little Pai Xiao in her arms. Xiaoguai, this was the name Nyeyuro gave to the little Pai Xiao. In just 5 short days, the little Pai Xiao had grown from the size of a baby's fist to the size of an adult's fist. Along the way, Nyeyuro kept chattering nonstop. In order to calm her down for a while, Nyetian took out the little Pai Xiao for her to play with. He didn't expect that the little Pai Xiao would chatter even more incessantly, and Nyetian's ears were about to get calluses from it. Xiaoguai is a Pixiao, of course it needs to sleep, Nyetian said weakly. Nyeyuro's gem-like eyes flickered as she said, Why is Xiaoguai a Pixiao? Why would a Pixiao sleep? Does Pixiao want to sleep? Did Pai Xiao like to sleep when it was young, but when it grew up, it didn't sleep anymore? If only I was a Pai Xiao. Big brother Nyetian, I really want to become a Pai Xiao. Yes. I also want to become a Pai Xiao. Nyetian's head was dizzy. He felt as if there were 10,000 goshawks buzzing around his ears. If only I could really become a Pai Xiao. I would have a good sleep, and I wouldn't have to listen to your endless nagging. Nyetian thought to himself. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Suddenly, a loud shout came from behind him. Nyetian turned around and saw a gorgeous carriage speeding towards him. The person who was shouting was the coachman of the carriage. Dragon horses! Nyetian looked at the 2 dragon horses in front of the carriage and couldn't help but be slightly surprised. Dragon horses were a type of first-rank spirit beast. They were not aggressive and had a relatively large body. Their body length was more than 4 meters and they could travel 1,000 miles in a day. Those who could use a dragon horse carriage must be the children of large families. The carriage arrived in the blink of an eye. Not only did Nyetian not get out of the way, he walked to the center of the road and stretched out his arms. They were now on the official road to Blue Cloud City. Nyetian guessed that this carriage must be going to Blue Cloud City, so he wanted to hitch a ride. As long as he could hitch a ride, Nyetian would be able to reach Blue Cloud City in 2 days at most. Go! 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 Seeing that there were people blocking the road, the driver of the dragon horse did not stop. Instead, he whipped the dragon horses several times. The two dragon horses felt the pain on their backs and ran frantically towards Nietian. Nietian frowned, and suddenly, a hint of green light flashed past his eyes and shot into the eyes of the two dragon horses. Lai. The two dragon horses were immediately startled. Their four legs suddenly stopped moving, causing a large amount of dust to rise from the ground. The coachman was caught off guard and fell forward, tumbling on the ground. Nietian just wanted to hitch a ride, but the other party actually dashed over forcefully. The other party was practically trying to take his life. How could Nietian endure this? He just wanted to teach the driver a small lesson. In his previous life, Nietian was also a rank 8 beast tamer. Right now, his strength had weakened by quite a bit, but taming this kind of first-rank spirit beast was still a piece of cake for him. Son of AB***, you are courting death. The driver stood up and roared out. He immediately made his move and threw out a punch. The punch was filled with all of his strength and imposing manner. Nietian frowned even tighter. He carried Nyeyuro, who was beside him, and lightly stepped on the ground with the tip of his feet, dodging the fatal blow from the driver. What a vicious driver! First, he used the dragon horses to ram over, then he used a killing move. If Nietian didn't have any ability, he would have been a corpse by now. *CK. The driver's attack missed, and he instantly became even more furious. He stabilized his body, and was about to throw out another punch. Nietian clenched his fists tightly. If the other party still wanted to be overbearing, then he wouldn't be polite anymore. The strength of the driver wasn't weak. He was already at the 9th level of the origin spirit realm. However, in Nietian's eyes, it was still not enough. As long as Nietian was willing, he could completely kill the other party in one move. However, he would need to use his star soul. From Nietian's perspective, using his star soul on this driver was really a waste. Stop! Right at this moment, the curtain of the carriage was pulled open, revealing the face of a handsome young man. Young master. When the driver saw the young man coming out, he hurriedly changed into a respectful look. 5th level of the origin spirit realm. Nietian shot a glance at the handsome young man, and immediately sensed the other party's strength. This young man was only 15 or 16 years old, and his strength had already reached the 5th level of the origin spirit realm. He was definitely a disciple of a large clan. No wonder even a driver was so arrogant. The handsome young man first shot a glance at Nietian, revealing a hint of disdain. Then, his gaze landed on Nyeyuro, and immediately shone with a strange excitement as he said agitatedly, "What an adorable little sister! Big brother Nietian." Nyeyuro's eyes shone with terror as she subconsciously pulled Nietian's hand. "It's fine." Nietian smiled lightly, pulling Nyeyuro along as he turned to leave. This handsome young man and the ruthless driver didn't look like good people. Nietian didn't want to cause any more trouble, so he chose to leave directly. "Stinking brat, you blocked my carriage and want to leave just like that?" The driver was enraged. He took a step forward, wanting to attack again. Chin Sanur stepped down first. The driver called Chin Sanur was stopped by the handsome young man. The latter jumped off the carriage and moved to block Nietian. "This brother, my name is Chin Yulong, Blue Cloud City's Chin clan's 3rd young master. My father is the commander of the Imperial Guards, and my aunt is the current empress," Chin Yulong said lightly, but his tone carried the arrogance of someone in a superior position. "Sorry, who you are is none of my business," Nietianling replied coldly. Chin Yulong was slightly stunned, clearly not expecting Nietian's reaction to be so cold. Blue Cloud City's Chin clan was one of the 4 great clans of Blue Cloud City. Blue Cloud City was the imperial city of Blue Cloud Empire, and was on a completely different level from Moyang City. Chin Yulong's status was illustrious. The reason why he appeared here was because he had gone to a province to visit an alchemist, and was now returning to Blue Cloud City. Chapter 51. Nye Tian had lived 2 lives, so how could he not know what Qin Yulong was thinking? Qin Yulong's glabella was gray and his breathing was erratic. It was obviously caused by kidney deficiency. This meant that this 15 or 16-year-old boy was definitely a 100% lecher. Nye Tian did not care about Qin Yulong's family background. As long as he dared to have ideas on Nyeyuro, even God couldn't save him. I wanted a ride just now, but I don't want it anymore. Please get out of the way. After thinking for a while, Nye Tian did not want to cause more trouble and said coldly. Qin Yulong smiled coldly and said, "This young master's carriage isn't something that you can stop just because you want to. Since you stopped my carriage, then you have to get in even if you don't want to." Since the soft approach did not work, Qin Yulong directly used the hard approach. "Oh." Nye Tian looked at Qin Yulong and said with a playful smile, "Then I must hitch a ride with you." Qin Yulong sneered, "If you don't get in the carriage, then there's only one word, death." Cough cough. At this time 2 dry coughs suddenly came from the carriage. Nye Tian's face changed slightly. He actually did not notice that there was someone in the carriage just now. To actually be able to hide his aura in front of me, this person is either very strong or has very strong mental strength. Nye Tian became more cautious in his heart. If it was only Qin Yulong and the coachman, he could kill them and directly snatch the carriage. Anyway, this Qin Yulong and the coachman were not good people. So what if he killed them? "Master Gu, please wait for a moment. We will set off now." The person in the carriage was anxious. Qin Yulong hurriedly bowed and said with a very respectful tone, "Master Gu? It seems that there is an alchemist in the carriage." Nye Tian heard Qin Yulong address the person in the carriage and immediately had a guess in his heart. Master, generally, only alchemists, blacksmiths or spirit array masters would be addressed as such. However, blacksmiths and spirit array masters were rarer than alchemists, so Nye Tian thought that the person in the carriage should be an alchemist. To be able to avoid Nye Tian's mental perception, it meant that the other party's mental strength was higher than Nye Tian's, at least above the 40th rank. His mental strength had reached the 40th level and above. This person was actually a 4th-tier alchemist. Nye Tian was a little surprised. After all, in a third-rate country like the Blue Cloud Empire, a 4th-tier alchemist was definitely a peak existence. "Big brother Nye Tian, let's get in the car." Nyeyuro was very smart. Sensing that the atmosphere wasn't right, she whispered. But after all, she was still young. She just thought that she could solve the problem after getting in the car. Nye Tian looked at Nyeyuro, trying to think of a way to escape. He knew that once he entered the carriage, it would not be so easy to get out again. "Kid, a wise man submits to circumstances. This young master has taken a liking to your little sister. That is a blessing that she has cultivated for several lifetimes. You'd better be tactful and cooperate well. This young master will not treat you unfairly." Qin Yulong smiled wretchedly. His eyes stared at Nyeyuro, almost popping out of their sockets. "Stinking brat, my young master is the Empress's nephew. If you offer your little sister to my young master, there will be no lack of riches and glory for you in the future." The coachman on the side snickered. "Big brother Nye Tian." Nyeyuro tugged at the corner of Nye Tian's clothes and hugged Xiao Guai tightly. It was obvious that she was quite frightened. Nye Tian's face was gloomy. It was like a volcano was pressing down on his chest, ready to erupt at any time. "I'll offer my ass." Abruptly, Nye Tian roared in anger. He stomped on the ground and his body strangely drifted 2 meters away. He threw a punch at the coachman's face. "Ah!" The coachman was caught off guard. He completely didn't expect that Nye Tian would suddenly make a move. Immediately, he let out a miserable howl. Several teeth mixed with blood shot out, and half of his face was directly caved in by Nye Tian's punch. In the next moment, Nie Tian didn't stop in the slightest. He took another step forward and arrived at a position that was less than 1 meter away from Qin Yulong. Origin energy surged violently from his 2 fingers, and an air-braking force gushed out, shooting towards Qin Yulong from an extremely strange angle. "Stinking brat, you dare!" Qin Yulong suddenly realized that the angle from which Nie Tian attacked was strange. He instantly came to a realization and subconsciously covered his lower body. However, it was already too late. Pooh! An explosive sound of flesh being penetrated could be heard. "Ah! Bastard, you crippled me, my—" Qin Yulong covered his lower body and subconsciously reached out to touch something. However, what he touched was a pile of meat paste. Nie Tianling laughed and said, "I made you unable to be a man. This way, you won't be able to harm others anymore. Kill him. Quickly kill him for me." Qin Yulong instantly went crazy. He pointed at Nie Tian and shouted. That coachman reacted and immediately rushed over with a furious roar. Divine War Imperial Fist. Nie Tian instantly activated the power of 10 stars in his 10th elemental meridian and punched out. A clear shadow of a fist shot out. The coachman was hit by the shadow of the fist and flew into the air. When he landed on the ground, he died on the spot. The coachman's strength was at the 9th level of the Origin Spirit Realm. However, his true battle prowess was much weaker than the Ba clan's patriarch, Ba Wuli. Nie Tian's battle prowess had more than doubled compared to before. It was more than enough for him to instantly kill a heavily injured coachman. Trash! Right at this moment, a cold shout came from within the carriage. Soon after, a black-clothed figure flew out at an extremely fast speed. Damn it, he still made his move. Nie Tian stabilized his body and stood in front of Nie Yuro to protect her. Gu Sanso struck out with his palm. It actually faintly brought along the power of heaven and earth in the surroundings. The palm wind was incomparably sharp as it attacked towards Nie Tian. With Nie Yuro behind Nie Tian, he could not dodge. He could only face it head-on. Nie Tian circulated all the elemental meridians in his body. The primal chaos original coffin followed suit, activating 100% of his strength. He suddenly struck out with his fist and met Gu Sansu's attack head-on. Bang! The fist and palm collided, causing a loud explosion. Nie Tian was directly sent flying. He drew a 5 to 6 meter long trench on the ground before he barely managed to stop himself. The full-strength attack of a 3rd-level Wan Xiang martial artist is indeed extraordinary. Nie Tian stabilized his body. His face was flushed red and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Only then did his expression return to normal. Gu Sanso was a 3rd-level Wan Xiang martial artist. Moreover, he was also a Tier 4 alchemist. Gu Sanso's expression was not one of joy but one of astonishment. He had never imagined that a trash at the 3rd level of the Origin Spirit Realm could actually block his full-strength attack. This was like a slap to his face. Grandmaster Gu, quickly kill him for this young master. Qin Yulong shouted crazily when he saw Gu Sanso attack. Idiot, shut up. Gu Sanso glared at Qin Yulong coldly. He did not give any face to the Empress's nephew. If it was not for Qin Yulong's special status, Gu Sanso would have personally ended his life. These young masters of the great clans were each more useless than the last. Yet, they still acted as if they were the boss of the heavens and the earth. They were really stupid. Brat, what martial technique did you use just now? Gu Sanso did not rush to attack again. Instead, he frowned and asked. As a Tier 4 alchemist, Gu Sansu's spiritual perception far exceeded that of an ordinary martial artist. He could tell that the reason why Nie Tian could block his full-strength attack was because of his own strength and the martial technique he used. Gu Sanso felt that Nie Tian's previous punch was at least a profound ranked martial technique, or even an earth-ranked martial technique.